You're live.
Well, they can't hear us. Oh, yeah, they can.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, that's fine.
They absolutely can.
Hello.
And
Probably a
the
little weird sounding, but that's fine.
audio is a little different today. We know.
Yeah, yeah. It's the mixing board blew up.
Quite literally. By
And
the sound of it.
and look, I set up another camera, so if you click on the other camera, they can have us in a different angle. But we're probably never going to click that.
Is it?
I think it's above or
I'm so blind I can't
close
see.
up, maybe close up. Yeah, which
Oh.
is not actually close.
Yeah, it's actually just like a different angle and a little bit further away.
What's behind that in that shot that's causing the diagonal pattern?
There's a still image, like one of those technical difficulties images, but it's the wrong scale.
This reveals how messy the disc is.
Yeah, the other shot, we try to push all the trash to the side so you can't see it. But there's also, you'll notice Wendell also has 2 coffee cups.
This one's older.
He's double fisting coffee today. I'm having a Pepsi and late in the day too.
Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, the Linode also has sponsored the news forever because you can get a coupon for Linode, and we use Linode for our hosting. And thank you, Linode. You should check out our Linode tutorials. Probably should also check out Jonathan Briggs because he gave us $5. But we're gonna wait till the end to thank everybody and answer your questions because we're doing the news live.
But we're going to do 1 section at a time instead of the usual.
Yeah.
So we'll have more often. Why does it say our audio bitrate is 0?
I don't know.
Everyone gets a little bit of PTSD when they hear the Outlook sound.
Oh, I should mute that. That's muted. Very muted. Very, very muted.
I like our enthusiasm.
A little bit like enthusiasm, but not dramatically so. Can you give us a little bit more levels?
Hmm?
Just a little bit more audio.
Do you want an OBS more audio?
Yeah, just a little bit. Right click on the gear and go to filter. Yeah, and then gain. Yeah, and just give it like 2 more dB.
Oh,
Like
2
5.
more whole dB?
Yeah, like 5.5 is probably good.
Hello from Portugal.
How's that, chat? Is that more better?
Audio is fine. Boost audio, please.
Eskimonster, thank you.
Sounds pretty. I think it may be a little bit weird this week. Something did blow up on us earlier, so.
Arts PLN $5, thank you. But we need to get on with the news. YouTube's algorithm is still bad, I see. Yeah.
Still a little bit low, but okay.
Crank it up.
Woo!
Use your volume mixer.
When Ryan talks, I see him hitting the yellow, as am I.
Yeah, I think we're all right.
We're gonna get wild.
The high end is completely gone in this setup, and we need to figure that out. But it's fine. You can understand us. That's what's important.
Yeah, literally, the mixing board died right before we started streaming. So.
And another thing that's dying in this country: free speech. And our leaders, including our ex-leaders, are really championing the death of that poor creature. They are now saying that in a well-designed democracy, you can't have it.
Obama says social media is well designed to destroy democracy, which is rich coming from the guy that got rid of the, what was it? He got rid of the
Smith-Munt.
Yeah, Smith-Munt. Everybody Google Smith-Munt and then be outraged at Obama. Also, remember candidate Obama? He's like, oh, we got to do something about the NSA. And then President Obama was like, NSA.
Candidate Obama also promised railways and public infrastructure, and that didn't come to fruit.
He didn't even try.
I know.
Not even a little bit. But
waste of a vote.
I also was really disturbed that he didn't talk at all about anything to do with consolidation of media destroying democracy, which seems kind of related. You know, media conglomeration. Remember that newscast where all the newscasters were saying exactly the same thing with exactly the same intonation?
I don't know. I mean, he probably would say that because Reagan kind of killed that.
Yeah.
So that would be a talking point for him.
But he didn't mention that in this article, and that doesn't have anything to do with big tech. That's like big Koch and big other media companies.
I think if you read between the lines, what he's saying is the media companies that we took so long to control are losing power, and we don't like that.
We can't pivot fast enough to control the other ones.
But what we at Level 1 would like to see a society have is the empowerment to do what's right.
I don't care if you do what's right. do whatever you want. Like, say whatever you want, right or wrong. No one can decide what's right. It's impossible. Now, this was a late ad, right? I didn't recognize this one.
Yeah, I didn't see this one.
Yeah, this was a late ad.
But I imagine this has to do with what we are steaming toward, based on what Mr. Obama has said, and what's going on in Europe, which is filters.
Yes.
They want filters not just for Facebook to come along and delete what you wrote. No, when you click submit, it must be viewed at that point. That is the ultimate goal.
Tell the Senate a filter mandate would devastate internet creators. This is an article from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. If you are in America, read this and consider signing it, like with your real name. Don't make up stuff. Don't be terrible, because they're gonna check. This is mandatory filters. This is like mandatory YouTube filtering, which is horribly broken. An EFF article points out things like, if you would like to play a piece of classical music and upload it to YouTube, chances are YouTube will automatically delete your video. That's the world we're in now without this. This is that, but worse.
Except then they'll be looking at, not copyright, but just the ideas that you present.
Yeah. Keywords.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Although, much like the other despotic countries that have tried that, I feel like technically they will have no ability to do that. But what it will create is their ability to invade your home at any time, because you'll always be in violation of these laws that they create.
Yeah.
Which is in some ways worse. So it's important to have laws that protect freedoms on the internet. And maybe we've got something like that in California. It does seem to be pretty pro-consumer, but every year they take a shot at it.
California net neutrality law to remain intact after the appeals court says that it won't reconsider its earlier decision. This is really, I love the double-edged sword of this. So the reason that the Supreme Court won't reconsider is because the FCC classified it as an entertainment service or an information service and not a telecommunication service. That was that whole thing that Ajit Pai did to do an end run around regulation. And so the Supreme Court says these communications companies are arguing that it's only the FCC that can regulate them, but the FCC has said that in this classification, they're not empowered to do that type of regulation, which is correct, technically correct. But in this, it's, so the Supreme Court said, well, if that's true, then why are you asking us to know? It's a states' rights thing, which is technically correct.
And I think we can all agree that since we made these decisions about, like all the privacy stuff, the internet experience has gotten worse. It's not just really unpleasant, but it doesn't protect you.
Yeah.
It's just annoying.
Just lots of pop-ups about, would you like to disable cookies?
Yeah. Well, not would you like to disable cookies, but we would like to spy on you. Please say yes.
And we're going to make you click through 20 pop-ups before you can actually opt out.
Many pop-ups.
Which is illegal in Europe, as we'll learn soon. And if we think back to the days before things were blowing up all day, every day on TV, we learned about a special kind of explosion that happened in space, and maybe it wasn't thought out very well, or maybe it was thought out very well, and they just didn't care about what happened afterward, which is Russia shooting a satellite out of the sky and millions of little shards of satellite spraying everywhere. And
remember the space station?
Yeah.
They had to move out of the way.
They had to go into like a little containment chamber where they would be safe.
Yeah. And so maybe based on that, time for new rules.
U.S. commits to ending anti-satellite missile testing and calls for a global agreement. So basically this says, look, we've all got anti-satellite technology. Let's all agree not to use it.
Only 4 countries have done so. I don't see the other 3 joining this.
No, not at all. Russia, China, and India.
Do you think this is an admission from the U.S.? Like, our technology's maybe not as good, but...
I think they said that we did this, like, 2009 was the last time.
Yeah, I could have totally imagined it, but I think ours did it with a net, and so we didn't create a debris cloud. But
I think they're still going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're just going to pretend like they're not. Or when they get caught, they're going to be like, oh, that was different.
Ours was justified.
It was a special satellite operation.
And Space Force, man, they catch a lot of flack. People don't take them very seriously. But as one man leaves Space Force, he does have some very serious things to say, at least in his own mind. And what he's saying is, hey, I've been here, I've seen the dysfunction, and let me tell you, we're trying to reinvent all the software so that we can make it stable and useful for ourselves and not have to depend on the commercial stuff. There's no chance the American government can accomplish that. And he only has all of human history to support him.
Departing Space Force Chief Architect likens Pentagon's tech acquisition to a blue screen of death. The U.S. military must ride the wave of commercial innovation or risk drowning under its own weight. Government moves very slowly. Sometimes commercial products are really nice.
Sometimes they spy on you for China.
Yeah, and he was like, well, we could audit it to make sure that it wasn't spying, but I'm like, could you though?
How many years were we running that stuff before we figured it out?
Also, we've had Echelon running the telephone network for a long time, also doing spying, so...
One thing about spring of 2022, if you are in the Department of Defense and your job is to think about how wars look in the future, you're very busy right now. Because this
You're gathering a lot of data.
It didn't quite plan or play out the way that we thought it would during this last major conflict, so time to kind of redraw from the ground up.
The U.S. Army is using lessons learned from what's going on in Ukraine to aid their own training.
Surprising no one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're saying, hey, the whole tank thing, I think we need to rethink the tank.
Yeah, they were talking about how they were debating whether it was better to have speed or firepower or actual armor. And they were also talking about how it was different between Eastern Europe with the mud versus the sand that we've had to deal with in other places.
I think the F-35 is almost exclusively designed based on nothing but Middle Eastern war.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is kind of a blind spot.
Interesting. I'm sure we'll find out some horrible things that they've concocted from this later.
Well, yeah, as they use them.
Yeah.
And we've had a long-standing battle with scraping on the internet. I got to say that there are, certainly we've had some activists and some researchers who've been on the right side of this. But on the other side, there's a very, very visible clear view AI. So when you argue, is scraping okay or is it not? It's not black and white. I think I got to land on the side of, if you put it out there, it's out there, right?
Yeah.
You can't make those rules, even if Clearview is
using it.
really being evil about it.
Web scraping is legal, the U.S. Appeals Court reaffirms. This was the court case that had to do with LinkedIn. There was another company that was scraping profiles from LinkedIn to populate their own competing product. And so the court looked at that and said, well, this is probably okay.
But Facebook has shut down a lot of companies for doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have any recourse? I don't think so.
Only if they have enough money to actually go after Facebook, which no one does.
No.
Except for Elon Musk, but maybe not after today, right?
He spent all his money.
Spoiler. We actually didn't get screwed by Elon Musk this week.
Yeah,
it came out right before we started filming.
I didn't add a story, though. We're going to have to live
Yeah.
search for that live.
That's going to be in the business section, which is the next section. We'll take a little break after the government section in just a minute. Well, another half dozen stories or so.
And some of states and even smaller localities, in this case, not a state, have gone after big tech companies. It's a much more difficult fight when you're all alone against, for example, Amazon. And Amazon lobbies heavily and for the most part wins. So when they win, you kind of just got to beg and say, please, please, can we do this?
DC Attorney General asks the court to reconsider the Amazon antitrust lawsuit. The DC court said they didn't present enough evidence, as I recall, and so I didn't really see a lot here about, okay, here's the evidence you were looking for, please reinstate it. It was just, please reinstate it, reconsider. So
yeah, her statement was kind of like,
yeah,
they're evil, they're evil, which, yeah, we kind of do, but there were no...
The whole point of being a lawyer is that you present the evidence of it, you argue your point.
But this is intrinsically known. No, not necessarily. Yeah, I thought it was a little bit weak sauce. I mean, they do probably need to be investigated. There's probably a lot of crazy stuff going on.
But it's nice to have the paper trail for future generations to look at.
The multitasking over here is just cracking me up.
He's posting in the forum, but everyone who's here already knows. So.
No, it's because we forgot to link to the stories, so I'm fixing that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I did put a one tab in there.
Oh, in the description? Or no, in the link. I was going to link to everything. Okay, well, that's fine.
Don't post the Google Doc.
It's not.
Okay. Oh, you're seeing how the sausage is made a little bit there, folks.
Yeah,
Well,
it's disgusting.
the streaming services, they're getting hit hard with this latest stock market downturn. It seems like when inflation bites, the first thing that you're willing to bail out of the boat is streaming services,
Yeah, I
which
can
makes
see
a
that.
lot of sense, right? And we have maybe more bad news for Netflix and Hulu, because here's the question. If we made rules for people to move data across cables, that they had to pay for part of those cables, does it only apply to the people who are selling access to the cables, or also people with their data traveling along it? Very difficult question.
Netflix and Hulu argue that they are not video service providers before the Ohio Supreme Court in case brought by Maple Heights. In this case, I read and hopefully understood, and I agree. This is a town that confused video service providers with the people that run the infrastructure, and the tax should go to the people that run the infrastructure.
So they claim that they are not that video service providers. They are specified digital products. In other words, they're not providing a service. They themselves are a product.
And I think that's true in this case.
It is the same product that could be delivered. Like, you could have your phone and your PC on different ISPs and get the same product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you would be in a not good position to receive the product if some other company didn't run your physical wires.
Or in the case of the mobile, there is no physical wire. I mean,
Well,
at some point there is, but
you'd have to get it from the tower or something. But again, you fix that in the law. You don't try to like crowbar this in, because if you do, it's like buggy whips. You know,
I don't think the towers matter though, right? Because the law was about right of way for cables,
you would still need some kind of right of way for the tower and the connection to the tower.
but they already had it.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting argument. I hate to side with streaming services, but when it's
Yeah.
ISPs versus streaming services, it's a little easier. We have learned about a lot of different companies. It seems like maybe when everybody was sitting at home, they started to get a little bit more bold about insider trading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just here in my den. Nobody will ever know. That's not how it works. They eventually will find out.
Activision is cooperating with federal insider trading probes, according to this filing. So they couldn't help but notice that certain trades against Activision, there were a lot of them, right before they went public with the whole Microsoft acquisition.
And after they met with the CEO,
Yeah.
and it was
weird.
like, that's strange how that happened.
So they're investigating that.
And once again, like with the Pelosi stuff, I don't believe that these guys who were found to be doing this are huge followers of Blizzard Activision.
No.
Like, what about that company would they understand?
Maybe they're really big Overwatch players. They're excited for Overwatch too.
I don't know. I guess like we're getting old now and we're into that, so
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't think that way. I think these guys were from a previous generation, though.
Yeah.
It is funny when they try to crowbar things in that just don't belong.
This one is, I feel like this might be another battery technology
Yeah.
because it's only 1 mile. And this is a press release, not a news story. I like to always preface that. This is not news. This is her telling you about what she did.
I'll give you an alternative headline after.
But if this were to happen, I guess it would change things.
Governor Whitmer announces first in the U.S. wireless electric vehicle charging road system. The contract has been awarded by the Michigan Department of Transportation. Alternative headline: Understanding of basic science and physics at all-time low in the Department of Transportation in Michigan.
1.9 million, and they're going to have it done by 2023.
Or Gretchen Whitmer's best friend gets into electrified roads.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if they actually get it done by the timeline they think they will.
You'll be dead.
Yeah, probably.
I think that if there's any chance of this succeeding, it's probably going to be like an electric car pulls onto like a little buggy or something and is carried along on the car, on the rail car as it's charged.
Like a roller coaster?
Yeah, yeah. It's like the little
A tram.
your car pulls up on a little thing, and then the little thing is like, I'm gonna dump you in a mile, but your car is off and charging.
And it makes that horrible noise of the chains rattling as it's pulling you along.
Yeah, exactly.
And somebody, like all the advertisers and
Oh, they put billboards all along that stretch.
the windshield cleaners are just like harassing you because they know that you're stuck there for a while.
That is good old fashioned commerce.
It's something. We talked last week about the insane amount of clicks that you have to use to get past these cookie warnings and some people who are working on technology to defeat it. So perhaps the time of the cookie agreement box is over. Seems like one of the nails in that coffin is certainly being hammered in Europe.
Google to update its cookie consent banner in Europe following a fine. This is the change to this cookie banner was just to make opting out the same as opting in. The biggest change is that there's a button that says, no, I don't accept anything.
So this is the old one where you had to click this button and then do them individually, which I think we found out last week there was an average of 12 clicks.
There's always a lot, yeah.
This
Every
article,
news site.
this article says Google was only 3 clicks, but the news site that we did last week was like 12 clicks.
Ours was 7. The average was 12.
Yeah.
But now they got the reject all button, which is still different color.
It's a dark pattern.
Now they claim with this law, dark patterns are not allowed. So if they were to identify that as a dark pattern, it could still be.
Yeah.
Now, did Google do this because they're good people and they just no $163 million?
Mm-hmm. That's made them pay up.
The buttons are the same.
And we learned about the NSO Group spyware last week, getting into some hands of different people. And NSO Group was like, I don't know, we never sell this to bad people. I can't imagine how this would happen. But the news just keeps coming.
Number 10, suspected of being target of the NSO Group spyware, Boris Johnson told. Now, number 10 is like, what, the White House?
You know, we were just talking about this.
We were literally just talking about it before we started.
What a terrible, how many people internationally, we're the cultural leaders, so maybe more awareness, but how many people know that 1600 Pennsylvania is the White House?
I would say almost no one outside of
terrible,
the US.
Terrible headline.
I've heard Downing Street, but never just number 10.
Number 10 is where the Prime Minister lives, I believe, right?
Yeah. Don't forget also that Boris Johnson really likes WhatsApp and has probably been compromised.
No, he absolutely was.
Probably all of them have, right?
Yeah. Now, it's cool. You can be outraged at the NSO Group here, but this kind of thing can exist because of Apple.
You know what timeline? It's probably not true, but I wish it was. Is that during Partygate, while they were all just ripped and drunk, there was some foreign agent in there side-loading furiously. I'm gonna get them all.
He's collecting them like Pokemon. It's a gym.
And another European crackdown on big tech. They are trying to determine all these rules. Now, they want a lot of stuff here. They want that interoperability. Mm-hmm. They want universal chargers. They want no cookies. They want no tracking. I mean, this is a big, big set of rules.
Europe seals deal on tighter rules for digital services. This article goes out of its way to point out that this happened late at night, so like lawmakers were
on the weekend.
In a mood to just, okay, let's just hammer through this and get it done. Let's get it done. Which is good that they're motivated.
That's never good for lawmaking.
But the interoperability thing is probably the biggest thing. We could see, Twitter being forced to allow interoperability with something like, Matrix or Mastodon or something to open their protocols. That wouldn't be terrible.
There was a lot of back patting in that article. They were very proud of themselves for getting that out so quickly.
Yeah, they seem to be focused on just messaging. Like, Android people should not be green in iMessage on iPhones, according to the EU.
That after-hours stuff should be done away with. The worst possible example of that, the Federal Reserve Act, passed after everybody had left for Christmas, in secret. And Apple led the vanguard. They said, you know what? We love the earth and we love money.
Mostly money.
Because of those two things, we're no longer going to sell you chargers, or we'll sell you chargers. We won't give them to you with the other products. And people said, well, that's annoying, but I do have a lot of chargers. Except some people in developing countries didn't have a lot of chargers, and they were familiar with local law.
Apple must compensate Brazilian customer over $1,000 for selling an iPhone without a charger, a judge has ruled. So this customer bought a phone and a charger, and then took Apple to court and said, hey, you can't do this.
How many other people do you think will have this idea in Brazil?
Well, I mean, what would stop you?
Yeah.
The article mentions this happened somewhere else. And they just, in the Apple store, they solved it there. It's like, you're buying a phone, here's your charger. You're buying a phone, here's your charger.
It's not allowed. Tie sale is an abusive and prohibited practice in Brazil. It's not allowed to sell cell phone and charger separately. Therefore, Apple is being sentenced after selling an iPhone charger separately in the city I can't pronounce. $5,000, which is about $1,000 US dollars. What's a new iPhone cost?
Like $1,000.
Yeah.
Free iPhone and charger.
Have you ever seen the videos of like the street vendor with the ice cream, where he hands you the ice cream on a stick, and it's got and then he takes it back, and then
the cone.
Yeah, this is Apple's basically the street vendor guy, except he makes you pay extra for the cone.
Just put it in my hand.
That's just not entertaining at all. I saw one kid that, he had the cone and there was nothing in it, and then he just took a bite out of the cone, and the guy was just like, "Oh, please no, don't eat that cone, because that cone has been handled by like 50 people."
Oh.
Also, you can only get blue ice cream. No other color. One flavor. More on the NSO group. Now, last week we learned again about, what was it last week? I was like, oh, all of a sudden we're infected. Who could have done it? And the NSO group was like, I don't know. Because we most assuredly do not sell to anybody who would take that action. And a lot of people were like, yeah, you sell to the United Arab Emirates. And we're pretty sure. We're pretty sure. And now we have another allegation. Guess who?
NSO spyware allegations poison Spain's ties with Catalan. Is that how you say that?
I think so.
The Catalan separatists.
They call them
Catalonia.
Yeah, why don't they call them Catalonian? That's the rich part of Spain. And they have a lot of political power, but the rest of Spain doesn't like that. That's my understanding of it, with very little background.
Yeah. Engagement challenge. Tell us all about what's going on there. We understand that Catalonia is an economic powerhouse.
Remember, they tried to secede.
Like Germany is to the European Union as Catalonia is to Spain.
And I think the other people of Spain feel like they have a lot of entrenched power, and they don't like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like our oligarchs.
So it'd be like Texas or Florida trying to leave the United States.
I don't
or
think
California.
Florida doesn't have a ton of money, does it? California would be good.
California.
Well, yeah, California
probably would
maybe.
be the closest.
Texas might be, or like Florida might be getting a lot more taxes next year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't include any of that. I mean, is that a tech story?
No.
Yeah.
But this is kind of because it's all being fought in cyberspace, because none of these people are ever going to go there, obviously.
Yeah.
Russia says niet and sanctions Mark Zuckerberg, LinkedIn's Rolonovsky, and VP Harris, among other U.S. leaders.
I don't think
Vice President Harris, they're like, oh yeah, she'll really rue the day.
Roslansky?
I think you put, oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine Kamala Harris just being like, hey guys, I think I'm going to go to Russia today.
Oh, spring break 2022.
Oh, but I wanted to see Swan Lake in Moscow. I guess that's never going to happen.
She just can't eat or drink anything while she's there.
What does Russia have that's a big draw other than
the ballet?
They got the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
The old Eastern Orthodox churches and stuff. Those are, if you're into architecture.
I like those spires.
Yeah,
I do like that. Yeah. How often do you think they paint those? Because they're so vibrant.
Probably pretty often. There's a lot of upkeep with that.
Well, more, not more sanctions, but more fallout from the sanctions. Life just gets worse and worse if you are a Russian developer.
GitHub has suspended accounts of Russian devs and sanctioned companies. Not just that, they've deleted them, and summarily too. Really, even people that formerly worked for a company that was sanctioned have been removed. And GitHub's not really said exactly what will trigger a removal. They haven't removed everybody, but they've removed a lot of people, and so there's a lot of complaints. This would really suck if you had all your stuff on GitHub and then lost access to it.
I think they literally just got an email that was like, sorry, your account violated our terms of service, and then it was just gone.
Yeah, and the people that asked for more details got a, robo reply.
What can you do? Who do you escalate that situation to? Because your government doesn't care.
Yeah.
Tough spot to be in. I do have a lot of sympathy for those people. I mean, maybe not. Maybe a lot of them support it, but like, I live in a country that's gone to war that I didn't approve of, over and over and over. Facebook is smart. Some would say devious. Others would say ruthless. All true. And one of the things that Facebook knows, because they are so smart, because they are so forward-thinking, because they have the fire hose of data, they know that their own demise is rapidly approaching, because no one in America cares about Facebook. They're losing Europe. The emerging markets are like, I don't know, I kind of like TikTok. So what do you do? Well, you do what they've done in the past and got their hands smacked for, which is you try to insert yourself into the infrastructure in such a way that you cannot be extricated.
Facebook's fiber optics in Nigerian state put Africa pivot in focus. So Facebook is saying, look, we could just go ahead and run your network infrastructure and own it. And then no one will have any reason to run any kind of other internet service. And we'll get all the data we need.
And it is about the data, not the money, which is crazy. Because the African market is, it's small compared to almost everybody else. But the data, they can put all brand new people on mobile devices for free and just scrape all that data that the marketing world has not seen out of Africa yet.
Well, and it's funny, the people that interviewed in the article from Nigeria, they're like, they knew what it was. They're like, we know this is terrible, but we really need internet access here.
If you remember, they already did this once with the undersea cable, which was rejected. And they tried to put mobile towers everywhere as part of the same kind of push. And Africa was like, no, we know what you're doing. So just keep trying, right? Seems like this one might have more steam behind it.
Yeah, I think this one succeeded where the others may have failed. And that is our first section.
Into business.
That is the first business. Government.
It's like government.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, government.
Yeah.
Government. Yeah. And so Ryan's going to get the business section ready, and I can chat with you wonderful people.
Wonderful. So great.
Johnny Winter, DKK20, hi from Denmark. Thank you.
Hello.
Molto Nito. Woohoo, happy Monday, everybody, but especially Krista, Wendell, and Ryan. Thank you. LaSalle Rhymes III. Have a great show, guys. Jim L. Please talk about the fact that Twitter just got bought. That's coming up in this section.
That'll be social.
It got announced literally like an hour before we started, so.
Derek Anzalone with the 104.20, 104.20. Elon is a dweeb.
You're not wrong.
For that amount, I'll agree with you, sir. That sounds good to me. Nigel Watton gave us £5. Thank you. Evening, gents and ladies. Keep up the great work. Jim gave us $5. USS Liberty Incident. Here's a coffee for each of you. Happy Monday.
I don't drink coffee.
You have to drink a tea instead.
And thanks for bringing us the best unfiltered tech news. Did you see Nestle has a subscription to the commercial water cooler thing? You can get the Nestle bottled water in the giant 5-gallon chilled whatever. You can get a monthly subscription and they'll ship it to you.
I have switched completely over to the 2.5-gallon jugs as the most convenient water delivery system, but Nestle doesn't have one of those as far as I know. At least not in the stores.
It's the 5-gallon, and you can do it direct. It's a direct thing. PH Gamer gave us $2. We need a P2P internet. GitHub at P2P. Well, good news. GitHub can operate in a distributed fashion, so that's nice. It's 3 a.m. in India. I'm going to sleep and watch it later. Well, thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, we got a late start today.
Literally all of our stuff's on fire. The capacitor exploded out the side of the mixer. I'll take a picture of it and post it to Twitter later.
Lately. In the future.
Alexandru Tudorica. I actually did review this laptop a while ago. This is the one with the Optane.
That's a nice looking laptop. I was
it's pretty.
I was just appreciating the aesthetics of it.
It is surprisingly good. The Optane is nice and fast.
Plenty of Europeans. What time is it in Europe right now? Probably pretty late, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Peter Malias? Charo tree?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
What
Probably just said something really terrible. Charu tree.
Some sort of tree, yeah.
Charu tree. Thank you.
11 in South Africa?
Almost 12 in Germany.
Okay.
11:30 p.m. in Poland.
Almost time to do the Wordle.
What time does that drop?
Midnight. Big F in the chat for the people who are trying to listen to this on their commute home and using their data.
Do you stay up for that?
Not usually, but if I am up, I'll usually play it right at midnight.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry for not also simul-streaming this to Floatplane. They did fix the stream thing for Floatplane, but because the mixing board died, I forgot all about it.
Yeah, there's too many fires.
This is not the best sort I've ever done, but it's fine.
Well, it's live. We can enjoy the weirdness of the sort together.
And now, on with the business section at this timestamp, which is whatever timestamp this is.
Oh, do we want one tab?
I did already.
Oh, okay.
It's in case you missed it, there's a link to the Level 1 text forum for the Level 1 News.
Is that all the stories?
Oh, you just copy pasted the.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, let's start with Amazon, and Amazon is doing something very exciting. I have to say that I realize how bad it is. I realize how destructive it is for the world and the internet when they put that little button that says pay with Amazon, and I can use that without registering an account. But I love that because I don't need to register an account with your stupid website. I don't care about your website. I just want my goods, and I want them reliably, which I think this will actually make even better, understanding that we're destroying the world. I understand, but God, it's going to be convenient.
Amazon opens up Prime delivery service for other retailers in its latest move to compete with FedEx and UPS. The thing about this that is also nice is that Amazon is very unforgiving of retailers who screw around. Like if your package doesn't ship in a timely fashion, or you don't update the tracking number, or you don't do everything just so, Amazon will let you know.
I imagine they'll probably just warehouse a lot of this stuff too, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think that's a requirement. It has to be held at an Amazon warehouse so they can go on and ship it. So it's a limited rollout right now.
The problem that this is going to lead to, which is what we're already getting with Amazon, is that prices are going to go up because Amazon is going to control prices in ways that Walmart, for example, can't fight. Think about that.
Walmart got destroyed by Amazon.
Walmart, who controlled prices for decades, will now be at the mercy of Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. And they're squeezing UPS and FedEx and the Postal Service.
It's horrible for everything, though it will be very convenient.
Add to that list, Wendell, the European continent.
Amazon reportedly paid no income tax on $55 billion in European sales in 2021 and an additional €1 billion in tax credits as well, according to filings. So that means that they had, in addition to a loss, credits of another €1 billion. So in the next couple of years, if they make a profit, they can reach back into the past years and offset that, which is, standard accounting practice. This talked about how everything went through Luxembourg. I think everything went through Luxembourg. So I fully expect new Level 1 news stories about the European Union coming down hard on Luxembourg. Because remember, it was Ireland. It was the double Dutch Irish sandwich or whatever it was.
I don't think they can, though, because to fix this, you have to overhaul all that broken tax code. I don't think anybody wants that. I mean, the people want that.
The people want, yeah.
The taxpayers want that. But no one in power wants that.
Luxembourg, and Ireland. I don't think wanted that because they created the tax loophole to bolster their own economy.
Right. Yeah.
It's a net drain, though.
It benefits you to be the one that cheats. So when you build a system with loopholes, someone's always going to use them. Crazy how that works. Now we've talked a lot about augmented reality. And the thing about augmented reality is it's exciting, but it doesn't exist really. Like all the products that we have are kind of trash. So it makes it a little bit, you really got to raise an eyebrow when Amazon comes out and they're like, we got a product that's going to change everything. And you say, oh Amazon, what is it? And they don't really, they don't have an answer. Maybe it's going to use projectors. That's all we know.
Amazon is quietly developing a new-to-world AR product. There is one diagram from a patent here on which this entire article is based. And
well, we've got this, which is nothing new.
Yeah.
That just looks ridiculous.
How many images of this have we seen in the last year where it's just a tech company just puts out a picture of goggles?
Come on.
I'm pretty sure that Marvel will have a copyright on this from Cyclops, from the X-Men, right? Isn't that his visor? And then this is the one that they're basing it all on, I guess.
Look at the little guy in the middle. I wish we had a zoom function on this because I would want to zoom in to show the chat. I can just hear that guy's voice. It's like, well, Mr. Anderson, what use is it if you're unable to speak?
Maybe they're just playing D&D and they're LARPing as their characters.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Remember the chessboard from Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. The vaguely 3D chessboard.
D&D like that? It'd be fantastic.
I'm also pretty sure I've seen this before. The Tilt 5 project, which is augmented reality D&D and D&D-like things, which actually looks really cool.
You ever see those pool tables that use that technology?
Uh-uh.
Oh, they're amazing. So, like, they have a projector and a camera hanging on the light fixture for the pool table, and so your pool game becomes visually interactive. Like, when the balls hit each other, it'll, like, a bubble will form out and ripple away like that because the camera's watching it.
Interesting.
I imagine that it is just ridiculously expensive, and it doesn't do that cool of stuff, but that's the kind of thing we look forward to, I suppose.
Wow, what a great use of all that material and energy.
For what percentage of United States households have a pool table?
5%, maybe.
They used to be really popular, and like people would put them in their basement. I don't know that a lot of people do that anymore.
Yeah, you know what happened? The Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah.
That is a more universal experience. When you buy one of those, it's pretty much the same experience. When you buy a pool table, it's like, oh, I have to level this? Oh.
And it takes up a whole room.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. Although now we have VR, which is kind of the same. Well, here's a headline that we've all been waiting for. I don't know if we're necessarily back to quote-unquote normal, but I'm not sure that we're ever going back to that normal.
No, I don't think so.
I think this is the new normal, and maybe the best we can hope for.
NVIDIA and AMD GPU prices are returning to shelves, and prices are finally falling. Yay! Prices are falling faster at the upper end and the low end, though.
Yeah, the 3090 is coming in under the list price. What? And what a amazing drop from January.
Yeah.
So. Oh, wait a minute. Did I read that wrong?
Oh, yeah. You
oh, no, it's the TI. It's the TI that I...
Yeah.
It went from 199 to 168.
Which the 3080 Ti is what you should get because it's a 3090 with less VRAM. I mean, come on. But also, I'm really hoping that like the 6600 comes down to a little closer to $300 because that's the gaming card. That's $300.
And Razer releasing a Linux laptop. No, actually not really. But kind of, if that's what you want.
Razer's first Linux laptop is here, but it's not for gamers. The last gen blade dubbed the Tensorbook. Okay.
It's also not being sold by Razer. It's being sold by this other company. What are they? Lambda.
Yeah, it has like the Half-Life sort of logo.
Good looking laptop, just like this one. I like the way they're going visually. But yeah, this is going to be all about machine learning. It is $3,500, but they claim it's kind of like an out-of-the-box machine learning solution. I don't know if you necessarily want to go laptop for that.
Yeah.
I have some. They were $15, and I couldn't help myself. They're M.2 TensorFlow Lite accelerators, and I've got a couple of them on the way. It was like I can't remember. They're from Google, but that looks really exciting because it's a tiny M.2 that uses like 10 or 15 watts of power, but you can actually do AI operations on them like a last gen GPU, which is shocking that you can get that done at such a small wattage.
Well, you can if you can get them, but things are hard to get.
They were delayed.
Because we are short on chips. And what do you do when you're short on chips? Well, if the profit margin is big enough, you buy another item that might have your chip in it, and you pull that tiny chip out, and then you just throw that away. Because that's the world we're in now.
Some chip-starved manufacturers are scavenging silicon from washing machines as global shortage shows no signs of easing.
Alternate headline, get ready for washing machine shortages.
I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that we made washing machines for a long time without really a lot of electronics in them.
Washing machine could totally be analog.
And in fact, they were for the vast majority of their lifetime as an invention.
A mechanical timer would be fine.
Yeah.
That's you guys can always hear mine on the news or on the stream, rather.
Not only, well, yeah, I mean.
Because it's like the loudest thing imaginable.
Growing up, I distinctly remember the sound of the.
Yeah.
And then the. as it was counting down.
And that thing will last for 500 years.
Yes.
But that's not where we are. Now we have beautiful little chimes. And it breaks down and you're screwed.
It also wants Bluetooth to get on your Wi-Fi for some reason, and I don't trust it.
You can still buy ones that don't do that, but they are a little more pricey.
Which is weird because it's literally less parts.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm a big new thing for SpaceX here. I hope he has the time. Where will he find the time to?
We'll have to neglect more children.
Delta confirms it worked with SpaceX to trial Starlink's satellite internet. Thank goodness, because airline internet is garbage. Although there is a danger that if the internet becomes good enough, people are going to be trying to do Zoom calls on the airlines, and that's just
another thing to ruin your flight.
That's just untenable.
There should be one class, like, you know, business asshole, and that's the only time you can do that.
And you're just picking up snippets of everybody else's call while you're on your call.
You got to do the noise canceling.
You have your Office pod. That's the only option.
Your Office 365 pod, sponsored by Microsoft. Ugh. You know, I think we got to give the Kyle Wigger award this week to Mariella Moon. She's written so many stories that we've done today.
She's the hot new up-and-comer.
Well, we teased this last week. I think it was pretty much a done deal at that point, but it wasn't official. But now it is official.
Very.
They have failed spectacularly.
CNN is shutting down its $5.99 streaming service. They spent $100 million developing this service.
This is Beam 2.0.
They spent $100 million and got 100,000 subscribers. They could have just given those people that money. They would have been totally loyal.
The article kind of tries to make it sound like it might have been a thing. They're like, well, this is really just them shutting it down prematurely. And I was like, does anyone want?
No
one wants this.
That is not that at all.
Yeah.
What's happening is they have failed. No one cares. No one will pay money to hear that trash. So, goodbye. But the people who watch CNN, I figure there's probably a big crossover. The Venn diagram between the people that watch CNN and the people who work at Apple stores, almost just one circle, I would think. Because these are the kind of people who believe in this nonsense. They literally quote them in this article, they believe Apple is a good company.
They really did. They seem so happy to work there.
They talk about literally how Apple is screwing them on pay and benefits and everything else. But we believe in it. What do you believe in?
They're like, corporate hasn't responded to us yet, but we think that they really will now.
Because they don't even know that you exist.
I was going to suggest we cut this story because there's literally no reaction from Apple. But when Apple's reaction comes,
it's going to be swift.
It will be swift.
Yeah, these people are in they are living in a fairy tale. I wouldn't let these people fix my litter box, much less my phone.
Apple store workers in Atlanta are forming a union because we love this company. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I'm not.
One day Apple is going to let you down, and then you're going to look back on the time that you thought this, and you're going to be very sad. I know, because it's happened to me, not with Apple. But you look back, and it's just like, I was so dumb.
They're gonna look back on that very quickly when all of a sudden they're all fired because they're talking about unionizing.
Or Apple says, "Oh, that you're the fifth one to unionize. You know what? We're online sales from now on. Only online sales. We're going to turn those buildings into, whatever, coffee shops."
You are a cog in a machine. We can replace you. Take you and your union out.
But we're changing the world together.
No.
Yeah.
Not together.
Yeah, you and Tim Cook. HP is making some new, maybe I was wrong. I definitely predicted that foldable would not be the future.
See, I think this is a worthless article. I think HP, wild speculation time. Pretty sure HP paid to have this article placed in order to gauge reaction in order to figure out if they need to do this because other people are doing this.
It feels like I'm being dragged by the scruff into the foldable revolution, and I have no desire to be there.
HP's working on a 17-inch foldable PC. But then when we scroll down, there are no photos of HP products. This is not based on anything. That's Lenovo. That's a Lenovo foldable. That's Asus. The Asus, that actually looks like an attractive product. It looks like Asus is ahead of the curve here in terms of the HP thing. Look, it's just, but there's no HP. There's no HP here at all.
Not yet.
H and P have left the building, and no one cares.
I got to see my first foldable phone this weekend.
How'd you feel?
It was fine.
Did you say I need this?
No, I felt rage because I knew eventually I would have to design something that could handle the fold and how we would deal with that.
More breakpoints.
More breakpoints. That's all I felt when I held it in my hands.
Yeah.
Well, that is infuriating, Krista, but it's not as infuriating as your future gaming is going to be because these two big names are going to set the trend. Maybe Gaben will save us.
Maybe.
Maybe Gaben will ban this on his platform. I don't know, but I don't even know if he's powerful enough to stop this juggernaut.
Sony reportedly plans to put ads in PlayStation games.
The article also mentions Microsoft, but in a smaller font, and says Microsoft has free-to-play games coming to the Xbox gaming whatever, and that will also have ads because it's free to play, and perhaps that'll be more palatable.
I noticed the on one of those articles they had a header image and it had the prices at Walmart for the Call of Duty games. How long until, because of inflation, they announce, oh, we got to go to $70 for the base price? That's coming, right?
I think you're going to
Yeah.
jump straight to $99.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think they're going to come out with the Call of Duty, whatever, Extreme Edition, VR, whatever, that's got some killer feature, and they really are going to think that like they've got a winner on their hands, and it's going to be $99.
I think I might be having to fly the old skull and crossbones. If we
Yeah.
go. That's ridiculous.
Our flag means
But
death.
the way that a lot of those games work now, they have to be connected to the internet all the time. They'll know.
Yeah. It is a bad situation.
It could be like Cyberpunk. You can just wait till it's $20 on good old.
I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
do with a lot of games. I
You
just
got to
wait.
do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, who has money to spend $60 on a new game every month or two?
I bought Elden Ring for full price, but I didn't feel too bad about that. And it was still whatever. Actually, I got a little bit of discount. I think I paid $50 for it. So.
You got a lot of hours of entertainment out of it.
Oh,
so, I
and
mean,
more to
that's not-
come. Elden Ring is a good investment. What is not right at this moment a good investment might be one of the darling stocks, the FANGs. I think the era of the FANGs might be over
Maybe.
because the N probably will not be in the FANGs for much longer.
Netflix stock plummets 37% as CEO says company plans ad-supported tier. Quick chat, give us an update. Are they still 37%? Have they rebounded? What are they doing in trading? Let us know. So they're looking at Hulu and they're saying, well, ads are working for Hulu, so ads will work for us. What they don't realize is that all of the other media companies have co-opted a lot of their content. Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, whatever else plus. There's not a lot of content left on Netflix that's actually good, and the content that they had that was actually good is only 1 or 2 seasons long, which really, really frustrates people. Look, Star Trek Next Generation, 7 seasons, Deep Space Nine, like that's what people want.
We're never going back to that.
No.
No, there's going to be 200 streaming services, and
But
again, you have to fly the pirate flag.
I think you're right in that the only thing that Netflix has that they can combat, because the streaming service like platform, theirs is not better than everybody else's considerably. I don't know. I mean, I haven't used the other ones, but I don't think people would make their decision based on that.
HBO, I got the HBO service so that I could watch Raised by Wolves because it was actually pretty good. And it is infuriating. The UI, the interface is infuriating. It is filled with dark patterns. And it's like, I just want to know if there's a new episode for this season yet. This was a couple of weeks ago. And it's no. It goes out of your way to show you things that are not what you're looking for.
Because they want you to watch something.
Yes, they want you to watch something else.
You know what?
No.
Now that I've said that, I remember the story about Peacock playing ads after you use the scrubber.
Yeah.
So I guess it is pretty bad. But Netflix, the big thing that they have is their exclusive content. But it turns out in the past couple of years during the pandemic, they've kind of been laxing on that. And with this announcement, they cut a ton of new shows.
They do that all the time. They start a new show and then they cut it. I think the only one that I've watched that they've stuck with is The Crown. And even that takes years to produce.
Chat, what was the show that they cut that everybody's really excited about? It's like Bone.
That was an animated show, yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter went crazy over that.
Yeah, the author of that, also the author of the show or whatever, made a little cartoon about all the different people that said, "Oh, we're gonna make this," and it was Lucy taking the football out from Peanuts.
Netflix was known there for a while, especially in the comedy game. People were just like, yeah, they'll just give you money for nothing. Well, guess what happens eventually?
No.
The economy turns. We did the story about DuckDuckGo blocking Pirate Bay and other YouTube DL, other piracy-related sites. DuckDuckGo says, no, we didn't do that. But their explanation as to how they didn't do it is not actually an explanation that they didn't do it. It's that they did do it, but it's not their fault.
DuckDuckGo insists that it didn't purge piracy sites from search results. They did, but not intentionally, they say.
There was Bing. And it wasn't even, if you typed in the Pirate Bay, you could get it. But if you tried to use the site modifier for your search results, like if you don't know, search syntax, you can make Google search one specific domain. So if you tried to search inside the Pirate Bay domain, you got nothing. And they claim that was because of something Microsoft did. But also YouTube DL. Isn't YouTube DL just on GitHub?
Yep.
How did they do that? I guess they have their own website.
Well, that was the one that they took down. Remember, they tried to take down YouTube DL, and then it was like, okay, this does have some significant non-infringing uses.
But this was the search results. So are you trying to search within GitHub.com?
Yeah. Ideally, yeah.
Now you might be saying, why do we care about this story? And I don't. I never really played either of these games.
Yeah, I don't recognize these games.
Maybe chat did.
These were big when the Saturn first came out.
Yeah.
I never had a Saturn.
I didn't either.
But it's not about the games. I don't even know anything about these games. I don't care about them. What it is that Sega is publicly announcing, hey, we want to take our old IP that we don't have to pay any money to rebuild, like it's already existing, and we want to build Fortnite. We want subscriptions. We want NFTs.
Skins you pay for?
Yeah. Microtransactions. Like literally, this is their business model.
But they don't want to risk Sonic the Hedgehog. It's too valuable.
Yeah, we want to do...
We
want to do things that are so bad that's going to poison the well, so we'll use wells that we weren't using anymore.
Sega is reportedly working on a big budget reboot of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. Because if these ideas were tried with a new idea and new intellectual property, no one would ever go for it.
And hopefully they still won't. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, I've never heard of either of those games. I was never a big Sega fan, though.
I remember those games being popular. Well, a long while ago, how many years ago was this? This was like 3-4 years ago, I think, right?
Oh, yeah, we reported on this.
I think these guys got smashed by the supply chain.
Yep.
Right in
And
time, yeah.
they talk about how the first set of batteries was bad. They had to get them all rebuilt with separate batteries. So they've run into a lot of issues, but it's finally time if you're dying for this Stone Age piece of technology.
Playdate, Portland's video game system, has finally begun shipping and after clearing months of production hurdles. So this is the original 2000. If you're one of the original 2,000 people to order these, they're finally shipping, and The Verge and a couple other places are actually, they're like, the novelty of this has not worn off yet.
They don't have a picture of it. I guess you can kind of see it there. It looks sort of like a thick Game Boy with a crank on the side. You can't even, they run their games, so you're only ever going to get first-party games on that thing.
But they are working on new games continuously. They're coming out 2 at a time, over the next 12 months. 14 months.
What happens after that?
Something like that.
They go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
When are you getting your Steam Deck, Wendell?
July, looks like.
Oh, that's like 3 months from now.
I still see that as a top seller.
Yeah.
On the Steam all the time. They must be selling an insane amount of those.
Yeah, they have increased, from what I've been told, I'm vaguely insider, unconfirmed, whatever, they have increased their production orders substantially.
Will that be the revolution in Linux gaming?
It sure looks that way. Isn't that bananas? It's so crazy.
Well, that's bad news for a certain company, and it's probably, it's stuff like this. They've been doing stuff like this to us for so long. They promise something, it sounds good, and you think, well, how are they going to screw this up? And inevitably, they find surprising ways to do it.
Android apps on Windows 11 review. Not like this. They're bad.
Not like this, but with the tone of the lady from The Matrix.
So remember, this was supposed to launch with Windows 11, and they delayed it because it was garbage. And guess what? Still garbage. Very bad.
Apparently the Amazon App Store is involved here, and no one has used the Amazon App Store since they first introduced it and then abandoned it.
I think what Microsoft is trying to do here is hedge their bets against being sued by Google for torturous interference for the Google Play Store. They've realized they got a letter from somebody at Google that was like, if you do this, it's a Rubicon that you are crossing, and we may have to. But they don't want to. It's going to be a little bit oblique because it's going to turn up in a lawsuit in the future. So when it does turn up in the future, they have to be able to say, no, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about this other thing. So.
Well, for a while, we had blockchain was the hype word.
Mm-hmm.
Now it seems like maybe metaverse. We're picking up on that. But another big trend in business that people are finally getting caught up on, even people who, like, people we talk to on a much lower level are like, hey, we're thinking about getting into Salesforce.
Metablock, block.
We want data. We want to track our consumers and engage with them and blah, 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 all these buzzwords. Because, just like we learned with Facebook, you don't have to make money. You can just steal data and sell the data. It's actually a lot easier because you don't have to deal with these dumb customers and their complaints. Just give it to them for free. So more people are getting into the CRM world.
Customer data has never been more valuable, and companies that organize it are getting a second look. Adobe, Salesforce, and Twilio
probably.
all want in on the customer data platform space after mobile privacy changes make it harder to gather third-party data. Is this where CDPs come in this time around? Look, if credit card companies were not asleep at the helm, Visa or somebody like that could just swoop in here with these privacy changes, and basically the data that Visa and your bank and MasterCard and those companies have could almost entirely replace all of this. They could augment it with just a little bit of data from the internet, a little bit of data from third parties, and it's going to cement them as being the companies that have the power currently wielded by these other companies.
Is that a better or worse timeline for us if the credit card companies own that data?
I mean, that's how it always was since the 80s. They've only just now realized, oops, there's been a shift of power here.
But isn't it funny that it went in the other direction, right?
Yeah.
Zuckerberg figured out that he needed to be a credit card company. And thankfully they stopped him at the last minute. But that's not going to, he's eventually going to get that.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook acquires, some payment processor somewhere for that data. Authorize.net by Facebook.
Well, big data makes our lives miserable, but it can actually improve your life in some ways because data doesn't have to be about you and tracking you. It can be about useful things, like the internet used to be. For example, 3D printed models. You can download them and print them on your own and do really amazing things with them. But those big names that controlled all that before, they don't like it.
Honda orders a big takedown of Honda-related 3D printing models from maker communities. Not just models that contain the word Honda, they also removed a water reservoir cap that fit a certain set of dimensions, a certain specific set of dimensions.
It was a very specific wording that would get flagged by this. And if it was worded slightly differently, it was fine.
No, they took down everything that contained the word Honda.
Or the logo.
The lawyers said that it should be fine. If you make gas cap for Honda, that should be okay. And it should also be okay if it's your own thing. I would say that, like a phone book, because you can't copyright a phone book, that it should be okay to make a, if you go and get your water reservoir cap, take some measurements, and it's like, it has to be these measurements to be compatible with it. But I made it myself in a modeling program. That should be okay under the law.
But by the time you take them to court and win, they still benefit from this. And that's
now. The callback to the first episode when we talked about the EFF partition, it's like the takedown and stay down content filtering. That applies to this stuff as well. It's not just video content, it's this stuff. So imagine not being able to print replacement parts for your stuff. That would be super annoying.
I bet there's some fine print in that ghost gun bill that makes that a lot easier. Now I've forgotten. I don't think they come to our Twitch stream very much anymore, but we knew the one guy who went to the code camp.
Yeah, he had to pay out the nose
Hot
for
Cub
it.
Car.
Hot Cub Car, yeah. And he got screwed.
Mm.
This same thing happened to him. I think he got more of an education than this lady did, but it was all about the job placement. Because when we first started talking, he was like, oh, no, they're going to put me in a job and all this. And we were like, oh, that sounds unlikely. Turned out it was very unlikely.
I think they put him in a job, but it was like data entry kind of stuff.
And he hated it, and he tried to. That was just like a horrible place that was getting cheap labor from these guys.
Yeah.
It's always a bad. Well, not always a bad situation. It's usually a bad situation.
Indentured servitude.
As this young lady figured out, literally illegal.
Single mom sues coding boot camp over job placement rates. Single mom who signed up for $30,000 income share agreements at a for-profit boot camp has filed a lawsuit in California alleging that the agreement was undertaken in false pretenses. Because they want the revenue share even if you get a job outside the field.
Yeah, she did not get a coding job. She went back to her original sales job. I think she might be under. You can only get siphoned off if you make more than 50 grand. So she might be beating it on that. But if she ever makes more than 50 grand, these guys can actually try and take it.
Wow.
Because they gave her that free education, which she said was terrible. And all of us here are big camera off people.
Yes. We don't even like having these cameras on right now.
Yeah,
we could just do this blind.
Yeah.
It really is a struggle. Even just like doing something like PenguinCon is like, it's not my comfort zone. It's very difficult.
What do I do with my hands?
Very challenging. I don't like it.
And you can definitely get a feel of office politics by who's got the camera on and who's got the camera off. There's a big dividing line there. And the people in charge, not fans of camera off.
Trouble for workers who turn cameras off. This article about Zoom conferencing, because maybe your employer can take control of the camera.
CEOs, I think it was 92% said people. 93% of people who had their camera off, they thought didn't have a future at their company.
And weren't paying attention. Oh, actually, I think you're right, Chris. It was 92 didn't have a future. 93 weren't paying attention. So there's one guy that they have to keep, but they still think he's not paying attention.
We're dealing with Zoom fatigue. We are indeed.
For sure. Yeah.
Just send it to me in an email. 99% of the time that works fine.
No, Chris, we have to touch base.
Well, you
The
can touch base with
must
me
be touched.
in email.
No,
Do it in email.
No. That's the end of the business section.
Woohoo!
On the comments.
What's the next section?
Pick one.
That's just whatever order I had them in. Social.
Social. So while you get that ready, thank you, Darnell Washington, for $4.99 for Ryan's informed take. Andrew Cruz, $2 Canadian. Hello from a John Deere tractor seat. Oh, watching the Level1News while the tractor does its thing. That's exciting, actually. That's really awesome. Arison, Canadian, $1.49. Thank you. The Psychophant, DKK, $10. Thank you.
It's a good username.
EIK44, $89 to change the back wallpaper to yellow and blue. Krista could do that if you want.
That's no, we're celebrating it's Appalachian Heritage Week here at Level1News, so we've got a burned out field of cars.
Well, there is a blue car on this side and a yellow car on that side. I hope that will suffice.
We did do the sunflowers a few weeks ago.
Also, you guys can't tell, but another thing that we're doing in celebration of Appalachian Heritage Week, we're all on OxyContin right now.
Just wasted on Perk 30s.
PH Gamer, $5. Speaking of inflation, that Costco membership keeps paying for itself.
I should get one.
USS Liberty incident, quote-unquote, furry inflation yields some great economy news. Dr. Bootygood, Elden Ring co-op stream win. Also, thank you for literally everything Level 1 does. Bye!
Bye!
Pup Shepherd, $2. Wags, a live show. How are you three?
We're doing all right.
We are okay. Bob Scott, $10. I'm a banana. I, too, am a banana.
Me and Wendell had stuff going on this weekend, so we didn't get to do the news on Friday, which is why we're doing it live now.
Everything, just don't bother trying to have a routine. Life has other ideas.
Yeah, I can't believe you completely forgot about PenguinCon. You're like, oh, right.
Yeah. I just was like, oh, yeah, I guess I have to. Oops.
I feel like you're, the plates, they're spinning, but you're pushing it.
Yeah, I really am. I gotta dial some things back. Andrew Preston, $2. Is it possible to unlock H.264 or 265 on a 6400, 6500? No, you only get the decoder. You don't get the encoder, at least as far as I know. You might be able to implement something on the RT cores. You might be able to DIY it, but that's probably not a lot of fun.
What do you think he's using mobile data in the tractor?
Maybe, yeah.
It's hard to blanket the entire field with any kind of wireless, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could do a directional antenna.
It probably would be. That would be really cool. It's like when you go to do a video just for, you need Wi-Fi coverage in the field. What if we did that with like some kind of, launch balloon thing where you launch it in the morning and then you reel it in at night. And it's just an access point on a really long power over Ethernet tether.
Mm-hmm.
Could be cool.
We got the space for that.
A bird could cause problems with that move.
Burhan, could you guys get me a job at Neuralink? I really doubt it.
We have no connections there.
You know, if you really study all of our videos and technical stuff, you know, you probably do pretty good in a technical interview. All right.
Caught up?
Yep, we are
Think
caught
so.
up. Thank you, everybody. On with the next section.
Yeah,
Hello from
which is
England.
the social section, which is going to be real short because all of these articles are out of date. We all know the big headline
Yeah.
for today, but let's just try to go through. I don't even know if these are the right order.
I think it's gone through at this point.
Yeah.
It says could be announced in one of these headlines.
So
but
this was the 21st.
Musk to explore potential tender offer for Twitter has $46.5 billion in committed financing for the deal.
Turns out that was true. Oh, this is out of time. This was actually before. This was the 18th.
Apollo Global Management is willing to finance the Twitter buyout, sources say, although I don't think it was confirmed that they actually did. But then
And then, could it happen today?
Twitter, Elon Musk deal could be announced on Monday, and in fact it was.
I don't
about
have
an
the-
hour before we started.
Don't have the fresh story because we've been sitting here,
Yeah.
but it's happened.
Maybe somebody in chat could paste it or whatever. Anybody got anything to contribute? The dozen or so of you that said, "Hey, are you going to talk about the Elon Musk Twitter buyout?" Yes, here it is.
Here it is.
There you go.
I'm wondering, will he immediately delete the flight plan kid?
No, you can't do that. How long do you think before, like, I imagine there's some sort of regulatory hurdles you got to go through to take that private, right? How long do you think that takes?
Probably 6 months.
Think
Probably
he'll
a while.
think he'll initiate that tomorrow?
Yeah, I think he's going to try to move as fast as possible, and I do absolutely think that bad things are going to happen to the Twitter flight tracker kid. I think bad things are going to happen to. Remember the guy that leaked a bunch of stuff to the press, and then he had that guy swatted, and then the other guy that he fired. for
Everyone
making-
who shorted Tesla
Yeah, the
stock.
short sellers.
yeah, the YouTube video, and just I don't know. This doesn't. I mean, $43 billion. I feel like we could take like $10 million in matrix.org and learnings from the old Usenet days and come up with something that is distributed like the old Usenet stuff, but that runs on something like Matrix and probably replace Twitter.
You know what?
I think Twitter will probably go down the toilet eventually.
There's going to be a lot of Twitter accounts that suffer from this. You know which one is going to be amazing this week? Libs of TikTok. That's going to be so beautiful. The breakdown videos, I can't wait.
What about what can chat? Everybody in chat, you should. This is the direction you should go in. Look what happened with Tumblr and Yahoo. This is that all over again. Maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe we
But
can,
they never went private.
we can manufacture a bunch of memes about
No, but Yahoo bought it, and then Tumblr just like, in terms of the quality of the site, it just went immediately.
But I don't think Musk is trying to make money. I think he's trying to,
Ruin
control
Twitter.
opinion.
Not like Twitter's much better as it is, but
It's going to be exciting, huh? When was the last time that you could, well, some people could say it, but the last time that I could honestly, I could never say I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Twitter.
I am interested though to see, like, because everything that I see about him, he seems so desperate for validation and like, please like me. How crushing will it be to his ego if Twitter tanks after this?
He'll still get worshipped by a lot of people who hated this. Like, the people who were kicked off of Twitter will always be his followers now.
He may. I mean, if he doesn't go dark timeline Elon Musk, I'll be surprised, but also delighted. But I have a feeling he's going to go dark
Yeah.
timeline Musk.
I think what a lot of people have predicted, and I think this will be an issue, is that it won't, even if it doesn't happen organically, which it will, people will orchestrate to try and force him to have to censor.
Yeah.
And then he'll immediately be forced with that decision. And it'll never stop.
Yeah.
It'll be, like a never-ending wave of, oh, you like free speech? What about this?
Mm-hmm. You gotta push that line.
Right.
And that's just exhausting to deal with that.
Yeah, it's the worst kind of people doing that. But they're going to do it, and he has to deal with it. If you're going to buy that platform, I mean, look, you bought a giant sack, and the lower 85% of it was just filled with pus.
Ugh.
What are you going to do with it?
As long as the pus worships me, I'm okay with
But
it.
no, they hate him.
Yeah.
They hate him now. They worshipped him before. Oh, how quickly the battery god was pulled down.
How upset do you think he'll be? Oh, I kind of can't wait for his Twitter meltdown once he realizes people don't like him for this.
Once again, Krista, when was the last time we were this excited about Twitter?
I know.
If he does go dark timeline Musk, do you think it'll also come to like the battery things where anybody that's talking about like a hydrogen fuel cell, those just get
all those videos that you send us that are like, look, someone's car or their Tesla blew up.
Yeah.
They'll be gone.
They'll all get that little subtitle that's like, this information is not accurate.
Yeah.
And then when you click the link to learn more, it's just the Tesla online shopping.
Yeah. It's a link to Elon Musk's Twitter profile.
Maybe Twitter is going to open back up and be the Wild West, and everybody is Donald Trump coming back?
I had that same thought. I was like, in before Trump's back.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting. But one place where politicians are still being blocked is YouTube, and this one, unlike Donald Trump, the people who would scream for Donald Trump to be taken down also scream for this guy to be taken down because he's part of the whole Hong Kong thing.
YouTube blocks Hong Kong's next leader, John Lee. So, I mean, do we have to explain why? With everything that went down in Hong Kong and why he's going to be the new next leader and why he would be blocked?
It sounds like that you're insinuating that he might have been put in that position by the Chinese Communist Party.
That was the vibe I got.
Yeah.
Well, this actually happened some time ago, and
This is a follow-up.
I was kind of avoiding it, but then we have another crazy story this week that's coming up in nonsense. That's the same kind of thing, and yeah, maybe we need to get ahead of this. Maybe this is not a good thing to be doing for attention or marketing.
A YouTuber purposely crashed his plane in California, the FAA says. When the New York Times reached out to him for comment, he said, "They haven't even told me what they decided. How do you guys know?" And then that was all. That was all he said.
Huh.
I watched a couple of seconds of the video. It did seem like he was acting poorly.
Yeah.
Like us in one of our skits.
Yeah.
But, with a plane involved.
Like, well, I've tried everything I know to try. That one thing. I guess I need to bail out.
Now, of course, he probably made a lot more from the attention and from the clicks than he lost in terms of that plane. But there are other concerns about just crashing a plane for a good time.
There could have been somebody hiking where it was crashed. Very unlikely, but possible.
Also, you're spilling,
Yeah,
oil and all
fuel.
that. Yeah, all over the brush in California.
You might be setting things on fire.
You killed at least 25 bugs.
At least.
At least.
We need those pollinators, damn it.
That plane could have been packed with plastique and given to Ukraine.
And the Facebook papers are here, and Gizmodo has decided to publish them in their entirety. You can go through them. I've not done so yet. They are mostly doing this as a way to expose the January 6th stuff, it seems.
We're publishing the Facebook papers, Gizmodo says. Here's what they say about Donald Trump, the 2020 election, and January 6th.
There's a long list of sources in here.
And
it's interesting. The angle for this, I think, is how this plays out with technology. Text messages and messaging and emails. And there's a lot of detail here. This is really interesting because I don't know. I mean, do you think if we had stuff like this for Watergate would have been a bigger deal or less of a big deal?
I don't think politically it's that big a deal, but for Facebook, it did prove that they lied.
It proved that they not only did they lie, but they also had some idea of what was actually going on. And some of their messaging was like, "Oh, we're just a platform. We don't know." But somebody was looking at it, at least a few people, to understand, what was actually happening.
So what happens when these same people come sniffing around and they're like, "Hey, this was on Twitter. You knew," and Musk is like, "Yeah, because whatever you want to put on Twitter is fine."
I mean, that seems like that would if you were going to do the criminal case thing, that seems like that would help you, which is maybe a good thing overall.
They're not going to let him get away with that. Yeah. That has to be stopped. Remember the Obama story?
Yeah.
That's getting in front of that.
Call back to the Obama story.
Yeah, they pulled out the big guns. Our current president, they looked at him and they're like, "That's not who we want to give this message. Bring us the one everybody liked."
Thanks, Obama.
But it is crazy that, he's talking about this being a big tech problem when it's not a big tech problem. It's a consolidation of media problem.
But you know what is a big tech problem? And now we're starting to get more and more numbers about how big of a tech problem it is Apple and their crackdown on tracking.
Apple's app tracking transparency crackdown estimated to cost Facebook another $13 billion in 2022.
Oh, that's a big number.
Now, again, watch for acquisitions because Facebook can probably get tracking data from other places. Payment processing, commerce, and other kinds of tracking like that. Facebook can maybe replace this since they can't do it on the advertising side.
That's like a fifth of Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm going to start measuring every large sum of money in percentages of Twitter.
This thing of bananas is like one tiny percentage of Twitter.
I'm reminded of Twitter for 43 billion. I'm reminded of Tumblr for $1 billion, and then a couple of years later it was sold for 3 million, from 1 billion to 3 million.
Well, I thought it was 50 some. Wasn't it like 54.20 because 420?
Oh yeah, that was the share price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, things are still happening in China, and boy, it just seems real dark over there.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Shanghai, not in a good way.
And I think a lot of the people, the Chinese people, they're used to a certain level of course, so are we. Everybody is, I guess. But in particular, they seem to have to just kind of eat it and not complain too much. But even they are maybe making some complaints because it is getting ridiculous.
Well, there's some lockdown. The headline is China's Twitter appears to have blocked searches for a line from the country's national anthem that tells people to stand up and refuse to be slaves. Why? Because there's a new variant and they've locked down.
And
a subvariant, but
their government has been known to use slavery. Now you could say the same thing about my government, I know, but it's been some years.
Except for if you make paint in the jail.
Or the indentured servitude story we just did about the woman.
Which one was that?
The one where she went to school and they're like, "Oh, we can take your money."
Well, the government's not doing that.
Yeah, the government's not doing that.
That's private slavery.
Krista, the 1-2 punch of that is if they're a private organization and they can get registered as a legit school, they can give you a student loan that survives bankruptcy, which is the ultimate level of insidiousness. I mean, it really is just truly breathtaking. Is that the end of that section?
That's the end of social.
That's the end of social.
The big story was the Twitter stuff.
But we've got Robot coming up next. Andrew Preston, $2. Is it possible? Oh, I did that one. Thank you.
Secured.
Colostomy bag just got here.
Oh,
I hope the based Giga Chad is feeling better. I think that's referring to you and your back problems.
Oh, it's last night was tough.
Robert Bear, $10. Love the content. Just upgraded from the PFSense router I built from your guys' video a few years ago. Had to upgrade it from when the Dell Optiplex I built started dying a slow and painful death. Those do have a power supply issue. You can replace the caps in them, but the caps dry out pretty quickly. PH Gamer, $20. What the Jan 6 thing showed was many things. People will rat out their own family. One side will completely ignore their own crimes, burning things down, and seeing reps show panic after instigating riots was hilarious.
Well, I mean, that's the history of the government, right?
BA Juggalo, $10. Hey guys, love your content.
Hashtag content.
We're big with the juggalos.
We were just talking about the gathering earlier today.
We were. And the charity work of the Juggalos, which is, awesome.
Not a topic that gets talked about a lot.
No, usually it's the psycho killer aesthetic and the drug use, but
their philanthropic side is,
yeah, they do some stuff every now and then.
Listen, there's a darkness in their soul, but sometimes the only salve is helping a children's hospital.
What did you major in, Wendell?
Computer science. I figured that would be obvious.
Interpretive dance. Basket weaving.
Oh, there's so many stories. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good section.
Now, security section, sometimes I'll take a story that would normally be a business story, but I'll move it into the security section because you got to think about your security when these topics come up. Like, okay, if I'm going to secure my home in partnership with a company, who is that company? Can I depend on them? Are they going to be around for as long as my home is around? If the answer is no, you need to move on.
Uh-oh. Ars Technica has shameful. Insteon looks dead, just like its users' smart homes. Insteon, if you're not familiar, was very, very popular. I think even the Lowe's, the local Lowe's, I'm pretty sure I've seen Insteon products there for home automation. You buy Insteon light switches and a home hub and a bunch of other things, and everything just works and it'll be amazing. But those are Internet of Things devices. You have to use your phone to enroll the devices, which connects to a website and install an app and blah, blah, blah. Company has disappeared overnight. The CEO changed his LinkedIn profile to just not mention anything about having anything to do with Insteon because
it just went private, like they're just gone.
Yeah, apparently everything exploded. Now, if you have an Insteon home hub, don't reset it because it'll remember your stuff. And the open source community and like the Home Assistant people, they're working on trying to figure it out and reverse engineer it. So the Insteon stuff may become really good, but it's really crappy of the company to not give a warning, and two, not open source or provide anything.
But then you got to worry about what they uncover in terms of security.
Yeah. 6 months from now, when somebody else registers whatever the master hub domain name is, they're going to be able to take over all of your stuff pretty much immediately.
I'd say just tear all that garbage out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it the right way.
You really, really well. We did a series on doing it the right way. The Level 1 home automation series. And if you use the stuff that we showed you, the way that we showed you, everything works offline. You don't need cloud anything, and there is no danger of your stuff being taken over after somebody registers a domain name that expires from some third-party cloud company. It gives you thermostat control, appliance control, sunset, sunrise, environmental monitors for oxygen and the CO2. You can go as crazy as you want. You can even have it shut off your water if your water usage pattern looks weird because, you know, your toilet's leaking. We did that.
Or what if you just have like a stomach virus?
Then you have to key in an override.
You gotta,
while you're hunched over the toilet.
Get a duck walk over to the panel.
Got to duck walk over to the panel and then answer a CAPTCHA challenge because.
What was your make and model of your first car?
Yeah.
You have to slide the puzzle piece.
Well, another story that you might be thinking, well, what is this about security? Well, you got to think about security in terms of like actively avoiding all of the pitfalls that the big tech companies are, the traps that they're setting for you. And one of those big traps was AMP. AMP was sold as being pro-consumer. Couldn't be further from the truth. This was tracking software, and some people are figuring it out.
It was tracking an ad fraud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brave is bypassing Google AMP pages because they're harmful to users. Now, this is exciting because we've done articles in the past on AMP, and it turns out that there's a good argument to be made that AMP was part of a basically ad fraud. Isn't that exciting? Ads and fraud, they always seem to come up together a lot. Isn't that weird?
It's almost like ads are fraud. Store.level1text.com.
And it's almost like a lot of people are making a lot of money selling that fraud to businesses who don't have an alternative. Like, what else can they do?
Well, I guess we can advertise. So Brave is basically saying, this looks like an accelerated mobile page. Nope, let's take you to the real domain, which is probably a good way to do it.
Now, this story reminds me of the argument that we know, there's not a lot of admission, but we know. Does anybody doubt that we have minimums, quotas for speeding tickets and other citations that bring in money, right? I think any reasonable person knows that that's true. So, in essence, what they've created is a world where it's not possible for everyone to follow the law. It's literally impossible. If a world in which we all drive the speed limit, it cannot exist. In the same way, an app on the App Store that is secure when it is first published cannot exist. That is not something that can be real in the current world.
Apple App Store appears to be widely removing outdated apps, wiping apps that haven't been updated in a significant amount of time. Developers will receive an email, and then they'll be summarily removed if they don't get recompiled and updated using a newer version of Xcode.
But what if my app was simple and rock solid when I made it?
Then it's going to be built into the operating system, like the flashlight application. And
we've already stolen it and removed your monetization.
Yeah, I guarantee you in a couple of weeks we'll be running stories about how some developer couldn't get through the Apple app approval process now because it's different and more stringent, or Apple doesn't think there's something of value in their application when previously it was fine.
And then there's an update to the Apple product and you're like, wait, is that my app?
Meanwhile, the NSO group has no problem remotely installing whatever they like on your phone.
Side loading. It's terrorism when you do it. I don't think they sideload. They use phishing attacks. Maybe, you know what? What if we introduce a new app store that only installs apps via phishing attacks?
Someone will be in touch with you.
Well, I kind of avoid these stories like I do the battery stories because often they either, it's vaporware or they come out and everybody's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Wendell got his keyboard phone. That was kind of along that line, right?
Yeah.
Make it really manual, but it turned out maybe too manual, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So it's hard to find the line, but I do appreciate what they're trying here.
Volaphone 22 runs Ubuntu Touch or a privacy-focused Android fork, or both. They've got some cool pictures here. The Volaphone 22, it's got 4 gigs of RAM and a reasonable processor. There's a Kickstarter that's happening, blah, blah, blah. This article doesn't mention at all the PinePhone or the PinePhone Pro, which I think is a problem. PinePhone Pro is doing it first. And I think probably worth a look.
First.
They probably got Vala on the phone and they were like, hey, can we get some quotes and some pictures? And they were like, yeah, as long as you don't talk about the PinePhone.
MediaTek Helio G85 processor. It's MediaTek. 128 gigs of storage.
Seems like kind of a middle-of-the-road phone, but we talked a lot about, do we really need the best and the brightest when it comes to phones these days?
No, probably. I'm really excited about the PinePhone Pro because I've got the PinePhone, and I want to be excited about it, but it's just on the other side of bamboo shoots under my fingernails trying to use it, even though it's Linux and open source.
Well, that's a bad user experience on mobile, obviously, because nobody's gone through the process of making it good.
Yeah, it's a little rough still.
And a lot of the guys who are hyped about this kind of stuff, when you came to them and you're like, oh, we need to animate this and change this and make this more user-friendly, they'll be like, no.
Yeah.
Are you stupid? I hate those people.
That'll make it open a half a second slower. Are you insane?
Exactly. But
those people will be able to open it then. It's like, no.
No, it has to be secure. You have to enter your password every time you open the text messages. And it's like, no, the people won't do that. And Lenovo, they got some hot laptops, but they may have introduced some bad code back in the day that's coming back to haunt them.
Hackers can infect more than 100 Lenovo laptop models with unremovable malware. Are you patched? Exploiting a critical UEFI vulnerabilities could allow malware to hide in firmware. This is really interesting, not for the reasons that Ars Technica outlines. You should read the article. If you have a Lenovo laptop, you should also get this patched up. But this is also the same class of vulnerabilities that ultimately got Huawei banned and on the sanction list. I don't think that Lenovo is in danger of that. At least I hope not, because this does seem like an honest mistake based on the data that's available now. But this is exactly the same kind of security lapse that we were seeing in Huawei devices, where it's like, well, idiocy could explain this, but there's kind of a repeat thing going on here, and the security's not very good. So if you know what to look for, it'll just let you right on in. It'll get you can dump your secure boot keys, you can bypass secure boot, you can do a lot of other things that are very unsavory.
Bad idea to have done that. That was lazy. Did we, now that I'm looking at the date on this one, did we already do this one?
Yes.
Okay, thought so.
But that's fine.
If you're curious, we'll give you a quick flash of it. We've already done
Virginia police routinely use secret GPS pings to track people's cell phones. Turns out judges happily sign off on that. Ping. Yeah, that doesn't sound very invasive.
That's not a stingray. That's the phone company happily doing that for them.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that before, though. And we talked about this before. This is a story that was just insane because there were these people at eBay who, when they saw stuff online that they didn't like about eBay, they took it really personally.
That's bizarre.
Former eBay executive to plead guilty to cyberstalking campaign targeting couple. This is take this with the Twitter news. This actually is relevant for the Twitter news because if Twitter, implement something like a real name policy, or they have to know who you are, or blah blah blah, that can be used to harass you. There is a legitimate need for anonymous speech if you think that what you say could encourage retribution, because that's exactly what happened here. These people had some, I think, legit grievances against eBay, and eBay just went off the chain.
And all they did was just say, hey, we don't like eBay, and here's why.
Yeah.
You can review a website.
No, you can't. Not anymore.
These people had It's amazing how much power they had too, because they were just, I don't think they were super rich themselves, but they were using that eBay power. Now, I'm not a FaceTime user. I hope I never will be. Once again,
I'm sure your parents will want that eventually.
They can barely turn on the TV. Once again, no camera. Team no camera.
Yeah.
So I don't want anything to do with your FaceTime. But this is terrifying because we are all harassed by spam. But this is like spam on steroids.
Yeah, this is worse.
Please, somebody help me. FaceTime users bombarded with group spam calls. And this is because Apple. But also think about interoperability. Remember we did the stories on interoperability today? What about interoperability?
So it turns out, like, how insane is this? If you have not blocked anybody in the group call, let's say the group call was it 31? I think they said the limit was.
Yeah.
If you've blocked 30 of those people, the group call will still come through because of that one person.
Yep.
So you block everybody, they drop one person off the call, add a different person, and spam you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently you have to manually block each person. There's not a way to just group it.
Well, let's keep in mind that this is also the company that really seems to struggle with the NSO group being able to, block them from remotely side-loading applications onto your phone. Because the NSO group software has been a problem for what, like 4 years now?
Longer than that.
5?
Yeah. And even before that, it wasn't like they were super secure.
Not a good sign.
This is a crazy story because people all of a sudden, social media blew up and they were like, oh my God, we can finally see all this stuff now. Google has removed the controls. And then Google was like, no, we didn't. You could always see this. What are you people talking about? And I guess the hype train just sort of like got on its own.
Yeah.
And we saw some new stuff.
Yeah. Ars Technica, correction, Google has not changed its blurring policies in Russia. This took off on social media and everywhere, and probably the chat, you saw this story elsewhere last week, but the reality was that nothing's changed. Nothing in Russia that was blurred before remains unblurred or has since been unblurred. And yeah, that's nothing new.
I saw a bunch of screenshots where they look like they were either just empty airframes or like styrofoam or something.
Yeah.
But also, and I've never considered this, it makes perfect sense. Every military fields inflatable airplanes and tanks.
Yeah.
For this very reason.
Yeah.
Also, if you know the airplane graveyard, it's on Google Maps. It's a lot of fun. You should go check it out. I think it's like in Arizona. There's an airplane graveyard where they have a bunch of airplanes that are used for parts. And if those airplanes, like if you just treat an airplane as an airplane, looking at it from satellite photo, that would be the third largest air force in the world.
Well, a lot of people are accusing Russia of having a similar sized air force for the similar reasons. I don't know though. They're a bit of a whipping boy in the media these days, perhaps deservedly. You can't get through a week without a NFT, crypto,
Scam.
DeFi, whatever, flash loan. This is a bad idea. It was poorly implemented, and somebody got a lot of money out of it.
Beanstalk DeFi project, not to be confused with Elastic Beanstalk from Amazon, robbed of $182 million in flash loan attack. Reserves were drained after the attacker awarded themselves voting rights. Ooh.
No one knows how to do this. People are so confident to get into this.
Yeah.
It's the explanation is really easy. Computer programs have bugs, and this is making the bugs have a lot of consequences. That was a $182 million bug bounty, basically.
If they can get it, turn it back into money. That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, during the pandemic, very early on, we started to see some really horrible technologies come out in terms of students, in terms of like anti-cheat, making sure that you're there, making sure that you're paying attention. And oh boy, was it Orwellian and
make eye contact with the camera.
Yeah. Or they'd see like a BB gun in the background and you get swatted by your school.
Yeah.
It was just like insane letting these people into your home. Turns out it's only getting worse.
Intel calls it AI that detects student emotions a teaching tool. Others call it morally reprehensible.
Wouldn't like smashing your face into a hot stove be a teaching tool as well? Not sure they're mutually exclusive.
So what we need to do instead of this is to tap into their smartwatch data. So if we use their smartwatch data, we can sense their heart rate and blood pressure.
Oh, no. Remember, you can do heart rate through AI for video now.
If the video's high enough resolution.
Right, yeah.
My question is, if there's a teacher looking at the video feed, Can they not get any kind of gauge on whether the student is engaged? Like, are they face blind?
Well, they actually covered that, and one teacher was like, at that age, they're kind of blank, so we can't figure them out.
And do you think the AI is going to do better somehow?
Again, a little sort of clamp on the back of your neck
Just
and a watch.
Like a Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fine. We'll know immediately if students are paying attention. Not only that, but for the students that aren't paying attention, we can immediately give their data to a licensed physician, a licensed pediatrician, and they can immediately dispatch, the Adderall. And maybe the phone can also have an Adderall injection. So it's like, oh, you're not paying attention?
Ken Robinson is just swirling in his grave right now.
And we'll sell that data to the other pharma companies because these guys are going to need mood equalizers their whole lives, right?
I mean, listen, these students, we need to get as much information into their brain as possible. And every second they're not paying attention in school is a lower letter grade. So we need all of this. We just need to close the loop on all of this. It'll be better for everybody.
And also make sure the kids stay quiet. We don't want them asking questions.
Yeah.
That is also solved pharmacologically.
Yeah, we got a new drug that silences them completely. It's 100% addictive, but it's fine because it's okay for them to be on it for the rest of their lives.
Hashtag Appalachia Week.
It's not addictive in the sense that it's what was it? It was drug-seeking behavior.
That was one of the OxyContin things. When they finally admitted that it might be a little bit addictive, they made the FDA also agree that it was okay for long-term use to offset the losses that they might get for that. Because then they could put people on stronger doses forever. Then you're not addicted, right? You're just medicated.
Managing your illness.
You're addicted to not being in pain.
Yeah, managing your pain, because pain is the fifth vital sign. That was also invented by the cyclists. I love it when the narratives collide in a way when people can't reconcile it, right? Because we have two big narratives right now. One of those narratives is Ukraine is good. They are the force of light. They can do no wrong. Everything about them is great. But we also know that big data and spying is wrong, and no one should be using it for any reason. So what happens when the White Knights use the corrupted blade? Warhammer teaches us what happens, but I don't think anybody's ready for that.
The article on MSN says that Ukraine is scanning the faces of dead Russians and then contacting the mothers. And so more than 8,600 facial recognition searches on dead or captured Russian soldiers in the last 50 days. To try to track them down and figure out who they were.
And it turns out it's super effective, and it's easy for them to get in touch with those people. And that is ruthless if you're a mom, I guess. Because they didn't have any choice in that. Neither did their sons. It's a weird story.
Yeah.
And it's Clearview AI that's powering this. So.
Yeah, which is, we know that's pure evil.
Yeah.
On one hand, if I was a mother, I would want to know. But at the same time, like...
It's a tough way to find out.
Yeah, it is.
And also, probably not all that accurate.
Yeah.
Also, in the case they talked about, they sent her the picture, but the son, he was kind of messed up a little bit. She's like, that's not my son, so they sent her the military ID that was in his pocket. So, but the woman, her response was, why are you doing this to me? And he said, well, somebody has to stop this. What's she going to do?
Yeah. Why don't they just send her the dog tag or whatever they use for identification for their forces? Like, why do they need to use the facial recognition part?
Oh, because they claim that Russia's hiding it, hiding the numbers.
I mean, that's probably true, but again, why not just use the dog tag?
They didn't announce the boat for a couple days.
Yeah.
They definitely waited on that.
They also said only one person died in the boat, which seems extraordinarily unlikely.
Maybe they just had a crazy good fire drill on that boat.
It wasn't a drill, it turns out.
They just take safety really seriously on that boat.
Well, we learned, we were told that, no, your phone is not listening all the time. And then later they're like, well, yeah, it's listening all the time, but it's just listening locally. And it's anonymizing that data. And yeah, we're using it to train the AI. And, your TV, yeah, your TV is listening. Yeah, okay, but it's the same thing. So more and more we just hear it's like, yeah, the mics are on and they're always listening, and it's all lies if they tell you anything otherwise.
Cisco's WebEx app, phone home audio telemetry, even when it's muted. The study finds that turning off sound in a range of applications doesn't actually cut the mic. How did you think that when you're talking and Zoom pops up and says, did you know you're muted? It's listening.
Wasn't there Well, didn't somebody make a laptop with a physical disconnect button that turned
Yes.
out to be not real?
Yeah. Oh, check this out. Yeah. Look right there. See the camera?
But you have to trust that.
It has an electromechanical shutter. It slides a shutter over
Oh,
the
that's
hole.
not just the LED?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was a light.
No,
Oh,
it's a mechanical thing that goes over the camera.
It turns on the secondary camera that we can't see.
Yeah, there's a second camera that you set to
You
it.
just need to, you need what my mom did, where you just put an envelope over the top of your laptop.
Envelope?
Just tape it. Yeah, she used an envelope to tape over
A
it. and-
whole, like, letter-sized
Yes.
envelope?
Well, and then it was her work laptop, and I was like, Mom, do you even have a camera on that laptop? And I pulled it off, and no, there was no camera on the laptop. She just taped an envelope to it.
But at least she's aware, right?
She is aware,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a good thing.
The Pine phone has dip switches for you to be able to disable everything. If you would like to use the phone with no microphone capability whatsoever, you totally can.
What a great excuse. Somebody's like, I'm going to call you later. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I don't have the
My
microphone.
phone doesn't have a microphone.
It would be great because they won't believe you, and then you get in a meeting and it's like, all right, call me, and then it's like, see, it doesn't work. I don't know why. And they're like, why don't you get it fixed? And it's like, oh, you want to pay for that? Yeah, buy me a new iPhone. That'd be great.
Oh, Musk only paid $44 billion?
What a steal.
He got him down? Wow. That's impressive. And this story is from April 11th. This is a little bit old, but I just got to throw these in here because this is a story. This is, you're an idiot. That will never happen. That's crazy. We will
It
never.
was happening years ago, though.
You'll never have to do this. Well, you don't have to do it yet, but
It sure is convenient.
it's going to be like car insurance. It's going to get to the point where you can't walk into a building.
The microchip implant that lets you pay with your hand. So this article is about somebody that got one of those chip implants that we've talked about on this channel in years gone by. And they programmed it, and it's their bank card. And so they can wirelessly pay for stuff.
No, son. No, that ain't right.
There it is.
This is not new technology. This
Yeah,
is,
we knew someone who had one of these a long
Yeah,
time ago, like
still
5 or
has
6
it.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my question about that, how much storage was in that? Do you remember? It was a very small amount.
yeah, it's just super tiny.
What happens when the cryptographic keys get too big to fit in your
Wow.
implant?
I don't think that'll be a problem with the data densities that we have.
I'm sure they're cutting, like, they're putting the cheap, especially during the chip shortage, they're probably putting some real garbage in you. There's a guy
He
that,
also has magnetic fingertips.
yeah, remember the neodymium and your fingertips are supposed to let you feel electronic or electromagnetic fields? But they also make you weak against MRIs.
If you need health care, you're going to need to wear a medical bracelet.
All right, that's the end of security.
Woo! That means that the only one that's left is nonsense. Woo!
Woo!
Good lord, people gave us a lot of money. Haven, can we put some tungsten cubes in orbit and deorbit them onto buildings in certain countries? I am sure that somebody in the Pentagon right now is working on that exact thing.
It'd have to be guided though, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could. Wind and weather would affect that, I would think, right?
You know the Excalibur, I think it's the Excalibur rounds? I can't remember. One of those, there's no propulsion in it. It literally just has fins. There's a GPS unit and fins, and so it's able to glide itself wherever it needs to go without any kind of external propulsion other than the fact that it was just launched at some ludicrous speed, which is awesome.
You know, you announced nonsense, but you forgot about robot space. But you know what? Do you want to just consolidate these?
Yeah, we can just consolidate because there's only a couple of stories.
I gotta get my wiggles out for a second.
Tech Max Power. It was £1. Robert Bear. It was a very painful death as my ping more than halved and my download speeds nearly doubled. Ended up moving to a Dream Machine Pro and also picking up a 24-port Enterprise PoE with 2 Wi-Fi 6 AP Pros.
Is he following up on the PF Sense build?
Probably, maybe. Thank you. Westy West, hello. Thanks for all the news and tech info. Any thoughts about the book Snow Crash being the future that we are headed toward? Yeah, basically.
Westy West sounds like a 90s rap name, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Like DJ Jazzy Jeff kind of thing.
U.S. Liberty Incident, $5. Fill several mannequins with tannerite and position them around your home with toy guns. Bam! Your home was secured from any no-knock raids.
Well, no,
We're not on a list.
that would just cause property damage when they shot them.
Mark Gilbert, $5. Will you ever sign up for Odyssey? We did test Odyssey. It only likes 1080p videos, though.
Is that the one we did very early on?
Yes.
There was a 3 gigabyte upload limit.
Yeah, I think all that's been fixed now, but Robert Bear, $5. Also just subbed on Floatplane. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the great content. Vinny, 2142, $20. Keep up the great work and content level 1. One of my favorite tech and news outlets to get lost in. Sayers the Artist, $10. Didn't expect a live stream today. Hope this helps cover the mixer. Thank you. Thanks for the news, dudes. PH Gamer, $2. Stop giving them ideas. And PH Gamer, $5. Ironically, for TVs, the Chinese Hisense has a one physical mic cut, but Samsung and Sony don't. There's probably a jurisdiction they sell that TV that it's required to have the physical mic cut. Oh, you know, the conference room TV today, it got a firmware update from LG, and it was very spooky.
It got smart.
It's like, why is this a thing? Elaine Graham, love you all, £5. Thank you. I hope I pronounced your name correct.
Wait a minute. It's 16 degrees. Oh, that's Celsius. I was going to say in Zambia?
Ramus Munt, £30. Under UK law, us Northern Irish have to pay the BBC $203 US for TV license to watch Level 1 Text live. If we don't, they send thugs to our house.
No, technically, as long as you don't have that cable in your house, you can say no to that, right? But it's one of those situations where they won't leave you alone.
Yeah. Alex Stan, RON, $20.
That's demonetization bait.
Yeah. Hell Mian Fuhrer.
You can't say. How much money did you spend for that? Oh, it's a foreign conversion.
Nice try. All right, so we got space.
We fall for that kind of stuff more often than we should.
Robot space and nonsense. Oh, there's so much nonsense. Gonna have to watch the VOD later, but Wendell, I hope you like the peak of the quad socket SP5 board. Oh yes, thank you. I have not leaked that, but thank you.
We're gonna do a dirty sort.
We're just going straight in.
Low effort sort.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. It is
He's getting hungry.
6 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
All right, 6:50.
Oh wow.
That's 25 hours since I've eaten.
Ooh.
Feeling it.
It's rough.
Not as bad as it used to be though. The leg pain's much worse. So let's talk about the space station. Now the space station's getting old, and it's going to be coming down soon. And who knows if we'll even have this international cooperation, because our partners on the ISS are China and Russia. Yeah. But they do have some really cool technology, and it turns out there are some perks to being an astronaut up there. You get some things that people have never even seen before.
Alan Graham says it's pronounced like Alan for £2. Thank you. Hologram doctors beamed into space station to visit astronauts.
How excited were you about this, Wendell? This feels very Star Trek.
I really hope the first thing they said was, please state the nature of the medical emergency.
There's a group shot of all of them, too, in this article.
All of his
colleagues.
Co-workers there. It looks like you do start to fade into the background at some point.
To the background radiation of space.
This has got to be doctored in some way, because...
It looks really good, yeah.
Surprisingly opaque.
Yeah.
Is he doing the live long and prosper?
Yeah, he's doing the Vulcan. Because it's space, right?
Right.
Because Star Trek.
You got lost in the middle of the sentence there.
What was the sentence?
I've immediately forgotten.
You said it's got to be doctored.
Was that a pun?
The multitasking is really overwhelming at this point.
Well, we're getting a lot of donations. We try to write them down so we can say thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Don't donate.
Don't donate, yes. Please. Anything but that.
We will read these all at the end. It's all good. So,
why do you think it's doctored?
The holographic doctor from Star Trek.
Oh, I thought
he's making a pun.
I thought you meant. Oh, was that a joke?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the fidelity was really good. I was like, oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe you got some inside story here.
The doctor's name on Star Trek was just Doctor. It's like, he didn't pick a name until later.
Well, that's something impressive that the space program is doing, and then we followed up with something decidedly unimpressive.
Yeah.
NASA to roll back its mega rocket after failing to complete a countdown test. NASA has options for what to do next, but all it involved scheduling delays. This was like a robotic refuel thing it was trying to redo. It tried 3 times and failed.
And it was something slightly different each time. I think they would correct one problem and something else would come up. So
Some guy just got laid off. He was in charge of the fueling, and he's sitting at home. He's like, "I told you, I told you." He talks like that because he's from Florida.
He's sitting there petting his gator with a cigarette in his mouth.
Well, Space Force, you might say that they're not up to much, but they're watching, and they caught something, but they decided to not tell us about it for quite some time.
U.S. Space Command confirms interstellar meteor hit Earth. Now, before you get really excited, this is a roller coaster. It's an absolute roller coaster because you read it and it's like, oh, this happened in 2019. It's like, oh, that's disappointing. And then they tell you it was the size of a shoebox.
That's, yeah, a little less exciting.
No,
that's big.
That's
huge.
And the fact that we were able to
wait, a shoebox?
Yeah,
that's still not very.
Moving at that speed, that's big.
And that we can track that is also shocking. They know exactly where it went down, and that it fragmented, and they were able to track fragments. Think about that. We have the imaging technology to track something shoebox size. We might not have full coverage of the sky in 360 by 360 degrees, but that is an incredible level of tracking technology in 2019.
Was it 2019?
Yeah.
I thought it was earlier than that.
I thought it was like 2015.
Oh, was
it? I think it was 2015 because I thought to myself, oh, you know what? Everything that happened after 2016 that we thought was just Donald Trump, it was aliens.
It was the shoebox.
Because that was the event. That started the whole thing rolling. And now we're entering into a world where everything is controlled by aliens. And the only man who knows the truth and is trying to save us, obviously, is Elon Musk.
Or so he would have us believe with his post on the Musk Twitter.
Grimes is one of the aliens. He was trying to seduce her.
That explains how he got the young hot girl. It wasn't the billions of dollars. It was the alien DNA.
Do you think he'll rename it to Elon Musk's Twitter? like Ted's Montana Grill, or
he'll put a really dramatic headline on it, like Washington Post, where it's like "Democracy dies in darkness."
I can't wait to see what he does. It's probably going to be a terrible decision, but I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see this either. Although I fear that it's so awesome to watch those SpaceX rockets. Just speaking of Musk, it's like, wow, we've really accomplished something. I'm worried that when we watch this, it's maybe not even 50-50, maybe 60-40 on the bad side. That instead of seeing another moment like that, we just see a terrible helicopter crash.
Or like a Challenger incident, yeah.
A helicopter will try to catch a rocket booster midair. Rocket Lab's first of its kind recovery attempt could rescue the booster from a watery grave. So the whole time I was reading this article, I was thinking, this seems awfully risky versus a completely robotic, totally automated self-recovery system for the booster.
It's cheaper though, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, in what respect?
Well, in terms of dollars and not human life.
Human life is cheap.
Which is the best kind of cheap, right? Well, speaking of those aliens, we did get that dump from the government about like the UFOs and stuff. There wasn't anything, no smoking guns in there, but there were a lot of little things like, that's unusual. I wonder what explains that. And now we've got SETI, right? In the SETI, you can go, and it's actually brilliant what they came up with in terms of like, okay, if we have no communication, what do we broadcast? So we showed where the Earth was in position to the sun. We showed our naked bodies. We had like Beatles music and stuff like that. Kind of weird
in hindsight that we did the naked bodies thing.
Maybe they put a little bit more work in it this time.
Scientists hope to broadcast DNA and Earth's location for curious aliens.
Do you think they opened that and they're like, oh, there's DNA in here. It's disgusting.
I imagine it's the sequence in some sort of digitized format, right? Like, that's the crazy thing about it. How would we ever map that to whatever their communication is?
That's part of the magic of figuring it out.
I mean, hell, we could be finding all kinds of weird stuff from aliens right now and not know what we're looking at.
Exactly. It could be a completely different kind of life form that we just don't.
Yeah.
Oh, it turns out the alien encryption makes it sound like background cosmic radiation because it's all just random noise.
And it causes cancer. Here's something that also might cause unexpected health changes.
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen? Actually, it's probably pretty safe, but I would love to try it because I don't believe it is that noticeable. They say 1.5 times more. I'm skeptical.
Saline solution. Japan invents a quote-unquote electric chopstick that makes food seem more salty. It sends a weak current to artificially amplify the taste of salt as part of an effort to reduce sodium levels in popular dishes.
I wonder I guess, are all foods conductive enough to do that? Are you supposed to touch this to your tongue? Because when I eat with chopsticks, I don't like jam them all the way.
You're just like,
I take it with my teeth usually, right?
yeah.
I don't touch the chopsticks against anything in my mouth necessarily.
Maybe your lips, but not your tongue.
I think you'd have to keep this in contact, right? You have to like hold one of them in your mouth while you chew.
Well, I can tell you that if you lick a 9-volt battery, it desensitizes your taste. So
I think this is a much lower voltage and current. Who? I mean, let's order some sushi and some 9 volts.
Can
do some experimenting.
Can you order these yet, or is it still like experimental?
I mean, it's in Japan, so we probably can't get it, and we're paywall.
Oh, chat.
Soon.
I can construct one with some aluminum foil and a 9-volt battery.
Soon to be able to.
If
so
you
probably
know
not.
anything about this, chat, send it to us and we'll try it on stream.
Well, Krista, we got to do a black hole story if there's one out there, and there almost always is. People love black holes.
They're always spinning toward us.
Yeah, they're always there. But what about, we spend a lot of time studying like what are black holes, what causes them, but we've never really thought about like who was the first black hole, who was the Dracula of the black holes,
the originator.
Maybe we know.
Ultra rare black hole ancestor detected at the dawn of the universe.
It's part galaxy and part quasar. And all fun on this season's new...
They call it a dusty red object, which is not very descriptive.
And not very menacing.
No.
It doesn't really translate the gravitas of this object.
Yeah, the article kind of made it sound like it was a big deal because it had been theorized that this existed, but no one had ever observed it. And now they've observed it.
Well, they've observed it 750 million years ago.
Yeah. Now
or
it's
something
hurtling
like
toward
that.
us.
I guess it was even further if it was the dawn of the universe.
Woo!
Well, we've been seeing a lot of arguments when it comes to education about what kids should and should not be shown. I really love the initiative of these kids because when I was a kid, sure enough, by telling me that I should not be doing something, it really encouraged me to do it, which maybe the woke teaching model, it's the most effective thing all along by accident.
Book banning efforts are inspiring readers to form banned book clubs.
This happens literally every time there's a big book banning spree. Everyone starts reading it because they're like, well, if it's going to be banned, it has to be good, right?
This usually only works for a couple of years ago, though, and then everybody forgets about it.
I was disappointed by Tropic of Capricorn or Tropic of Cancer, whichever one I read. Yeah, there's a lot of sex in it, but it wasn't. I was like, why do they ban this?
They're scared. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, the one that someone mentioned in the chat earlier, maybe that should stay banned. I don't know. Why not? Why not read it? If it's such a bad idea, which I think in hindsight we can say those were some terrible ideas, why not learn from them? Why not learn that these are bad ideas?
Speaking of terrible ideas that somebody's definitely going to learn
They're
from.
gonna learn
Shocking ideas.
Let's
Before we do the headline, let's just look at I can totally see if you're from some little podunk town in Russia and you've never seen paved roads or laptops, and you see this and you're like, oh, I want that. Maybe just pop that in my pocket.
That looks like a really nice coaster.
Oh my God! You know what? I could make a fridge magnet out of that.
It's so weirdly heavy.
But that's a terrible idea.
This feels like it's made out of lead. Photos indicate Russian looting of radioactive materials from Ukraine's Chernobyl.
If you pop that in your pocket on the walk back to the old BRT, your future children might not be in existence anymore.
This kind of highlights to me some of the problems when we talk about how do we handle nuclear waste? How do we make it safe to store? These people speak more or less the same language. And there were probably caution signs everywhere, do not take. And they still took it.
But look at it. There's literally a giant caution sign on it. But look at this nuclear lab. Doesn't this look really crappy for a nuclear lab?
It has that beautiful old parquet flooring.
It was built at the height of the Soviet Union. So this building actually was scheduled to be retired, 50 years ago.
They just went through and put all that stuff in their pockets. What a terrible idea.
Literally signage that they can read.
There was one really, it's like all the servers gone. That server was the one, so they had a bunch of wireless sensors that would detect the radioactivity levels. that was the server that did that, and they took it for parts or whatever.
Well, listen, there's a chip shortage.
Well, yeah, you got to get what you can get.
That's really, it's dumb and really just unsettling. But I also read that they were working on, they found some bacteria that seemed to be able to thrive on nuclear waste, and so they were cultivating. It was not like it was genetic manipulation, but it wasn't genetic engineering like anything so grandiose. But it was genetic manipulation of this bacteria that was supposed to be able to consume and help manage radioactive waste, and I think that that's all been completely lost.
Great.
Well, yeah. When people start launching mortars at your buildings.
Yeah.
One of the things they should have had a picture in it. One of the things they stole was like a test rod, and it literally says like, if you're reading this, drop it and run, because it's so radioactive.
Yeah, that's just Ukrainian propaganda. They don't want us to have these beautiful toys.
Yeah, someone thinks that. It's very bad.
I don't know they necessarily think that. I think they just might be so, like, on top of them not knowing much about the world, not stupid, but just ignorant, you know, like they haven't been exposed to it. They're also miserable and downtrodden and like trying to get anything they can to benefit from this.
Do you think we'll see it on Antiques Roadshow in like 20 or 30
I would
years?
say check your eBay listings. It'll be on Facebook Marketplace in a week.
That'll be a great future where all the, it's like you have Antiques Roadshow, you know, for the regular people, and then you have the Mutant Roadshow,
Yeah.
where the guy's in a full hazmat suit.
My grandfather brought this from some sort of military operation. What is it?
A special military operation.
It's like, oh.
This has been in the lobster claw family for generations. And we have some unintended government consequences, which I guess the Ukrainian situation could be as well, right? Bad ideas that were given power because someone in government thought they'd be good.
Highway death toll messages linked to rise in car crashes, studies say, because people that are driving probably should have been driving instead of reading the sign.
Or contemplating their mortality.
And also, usually you use these kind of signs, like, it's not an ad that you can easily block out. It's orange text, which is usually used for, hey, road work ahead. So you do read it. You can't just block it out.
And I could see like the whole traffic wave slowing down because they're trying to read. Because it does have an annoying effect where they can't put the whole message on it because it's too big.
So they do
so
two.
It cycles,
yeah,
but it cycles slowly.
It's like a slider.
Yeah.
Bad UI.
Bad road UI. This is, once again, just taking this word, this concept, and grinding it into a fine powder that will never mean anything again. I mean, it was already pretty bad.
I'm assuming this is the nonsense section.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
Clearly.
Well, I don't even want to say that because of the thing. We're doing pretty good.
Before we get demonetized.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's fine.
I don't think I can hide it from the text reader.
No, it's fine. Zambian student arrested in Russia on charges for twerking, because twerking is not allowed, and that is not glorious to the state.
That's degenerate American dance moves.
She was twerking at a war memorial, which is maybe in poor taste, but I don't know that it relates to National Socialism.
No, not really.
The taste is so poor.
Maybe give her a fine and let her go. Hey, don't twerk on the war memorial again.
Also, this is hot for you two, but it's not like it surprised me to learn how few black people there are in Russia. Maybe they're just like they don't count them and they're really there. I don't know.
I think that's true in a lot of Asia as well.
Yeah.
Strange.
Shockingly low amount. Weird. Maybe they don't like the coal. I mean, if you come from Africa, it's got to be a shock, right?
That is weird because they had a lot of trade by the Silk Road. But I don't know.
Maybe once Mark Zuckerberg takes over Africa, he can change that. Open it up to Russia. Well, colleges, I think people are finally catching on to the scam that the current American college experience is.
The headline's a little sensationalist.
Well, I think that's what they're looking for here, right?
Yeah.
We got to get it. We got to bring people in somehow because the product we're selling sucks.
Westminster College gathering social media attention for offering pornography class. Listen, this is not really any different than an entrepreneurship offering an OnlyFans class.
I remember
there's a description of it somewhere in here.
People were outraged when they started offering like the Star Wars classes and the Lord of the Rings classes. This is just going further down that road.
Yeah.
But they're basically saying like they're going to explore, all the different woke stuff. But you will be watching hardcore pornography in a room with a bunch of other people.
And determining what it means. And it's like, I think this just means people were horny.
I think what that means is they gave that girl $1,000 and that guy $200. And they sold it. I don't think it means anything more than that. And Elon Musk, soon to be the most maligned man in America. Well, I don't know.
Going into a few contenders for that title.
Plus, we're going into the election.
That's something I read on Elon Musk's Twitter.
So I don't know. It'll be a toss-up.
Elon.
I think between him and Trump and Biden, it'll be a toss-up, right?
Yeah.
Every human being in America hates one of those people. I bet.
It's true.
Yeah, but he's going to be in the news a lot, and he says a lot of dumb stuff, obviously, because he always talks, and he always talks about himself. This one is a little out of touch, but he is the world's richest man.
Elon Musk says almost anyone can afford $100,000, a hypothetical price point for a SpaceX ticket to Mars.
He actually made this comment, I think, last summer, but it flew under the radar because people didn't hate him quite as much then, I don't think.
What was the statistic on the housing situation and the homeless people?
It's like 600,000 homeless and over 1 million empty homes.
So at least those 600,000, we got to think, probably couldn't come up with $100K, right?
Yeah.
Most Americans, they say, I think it's like they can't afford a $400 emergency expense. Yeah. But yes, we can all afford $100,000 to go to Mars.
Yeah. Since the thing for the last 2 years, that number on like how many people have savings and is retirement going to be a thing?
Yeah.
It's real scary.
But you know what's going to happen is it's going to be like the code camp, right? Hey, we know you can't afford $100,000, but hey, we'll let you on the boat. We'll train you on the way to Mars, and there's a job waiting for you on Mars.
It's indentured servitude. That's how a lot of people got to this country.
You get to Mars, and it's like, I would like to go home. It's like, great, pay your way home.
Yeah, really, it's only $100,000. How much do you have? Oh, you owe us $200,000.
Oh, you only have company money? That doesn't exchange to any real currency.
You can only you've got 50 Elon bucks after working all day.
Elon nickels.
Can't actually turn that into a ticket back to Earth. Sorry, we don't do that, but we can at a 50% rate transfer that into oxygen.
What a steal. And
also a steal, Krista, if you are hyped about Disney exclusive toys. Oh, what a dark world. When you are, this is, you know what, I just watched a great documentary about Beanie Babies. It's called Beanie Mania. I highly recommend it. This reminds me of that very much.
So consumeristic. Resellers at Tokyo Disney Resort allegedly use fake babies to evade shopping limits.
How does that even translate?
They would bring in like a stroller, and it was like, oh, I'm getting something for my kid, and then they could get more.
Yeah, it's one per person, but this counts. I love how they have the little Michael Jordan head warmer on.
Yeah.
Fake baby. So these women are, there's a big reselling community. I don't understand this whole thing. I guess Disney doesn't sell this anywhere but at the park.
Yeah, well, and this happens here in the US too. People get they make Disney their identity. And I think this happens at a greater rate in Japan. Like, people think Disney is incredible in Japan. Like, going there is a popular first date option.
So they're drinking Kool-Aid.
Wow, it's an expensive date.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I don't get it. It's just toys that you're just gonna fill your house up with. That
have
crap.
You seen what Disney does?
The brilliant of that marketing, though, that artificial scarcity.
Yeah, and then the vault, and then it's your childhood.
But that's what Beanie Baby did. They wouldn't sell to the big stores.
Yeah. So
you had to go hunting for them, and those women loved that. Like, that gave their life. They gave them something to do.
There's the thing now is Ray Dunn pottery. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like the mugs and stuff in the scripty fonts is like girl boss. And people collect that kind of stuff now.
Isn't that easy?
That's the new Beanie Baby.
Can you make 1 billion of those in China, though? Like,
yes. There's no real scarcity. People collect them crazily. They just release so much of it that you'll never catch up.
See, the Beanie Babies, they retired. That was the brilliant
that.
stroke. When you retired them, it created such a demand. And then all those people, they couldn't run out and buy that Beanie Baby, but they're like, oh, I should get these before they retired. And they would go and buy every Beanie Baby. That guy was brilliant. He was like the Tim Cook of toys.
Your face when I described the Girl Boss mug You immediately like
yeah.
scrunched up in disgust.
I hate that stuff. That's
Uh-huh.
so. I should
Very
get one of
popular,
those.
though.
I should get one of those for the desk here. Ironically,
Girl boss.
Yeah. Well, you know who's a girl boss?
Mm.
She's certainly a big earner and beloved, and now also the namesake of a beautiful millipede.
Scientists named new species of millipede after Taylor Swift.
Why?
5 years of research.
Why, Krista? Don't you see look? They look the same.
I like that someone had to take the time to put this image together.
Taylor Swift also has 100 legs. How many legs does a millipede have? Is it 100?
I think it's 100.
I thought it was a centipede, right?
Oh.
Millipede's got to have more.
Millipede, yeah, it's like more.
But it's not a million, obviously.
No.
What's the chat say?
100,000.
They're way behind. Google's way behind. YouTube is.
Oh, they're still talking about the other story.
But her millipede lives right here. And look at this.
Oh, right
We
here.
got some
you
of
might
our-
have some in your basement
We
right
got some
now.
Taylor Swifts.
They're probably on the other side of the mountain range. They just couldn't afford to have somebody on both sides of the mountain range.
We don't go into Eastern Kentucky at night.
Yeah, basically.
That was Central Kentucky.
Well, they don't want to go. They can't actually send people into research there.
They used to live in Eastern Kentucky, but they've since become college educated and moved out.
And moved out.
I wonder if
never
they-
to come home.
I wonder if it would be funny if that's actually a species of, like, they identify that we used to call roly-polies. Because those were different than millipedes and centipedes that were.
Yeah, and they rolled themselves into that protective ball just like Taylor Swift.
I think I saw her do that dance move on her last tour.
She's got a very flexible spine.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I don't even know what LBC, Long Beach Connection. I don't think that's what it is. But somewhere people are just doing stupid things, and it's fun to talk about.
Diversity campaigners accuse black DJ of wearing blackface?
This guy was a really good sport about it. He was like, "No, I'm just black."
But when they called the Karen out on it, and they're like, "No, he's black," she didn't say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She
No, they
said,
never do.
"Well, clearly he blackened himself up more."
Yeah. Well, and what was his quote in here? He was like, "No, I kind of get it because he's like, I'm the only
The only chocolate chip in the
ice
milkshake.
cream." Yeah.
Or ice cream, yeah.
Oh, he's like, I would be thinking the same thing.
But it's so amazing that, like, she thought that she was going to be his advocate. She was like, "Oh, it's going to be so stunning and brave what I do, and he's going to be so thankful for that." Like, these people live in a completely different universe.
Yes.
And you know what else is a completely different universe that we'll never know about? Except we could. We would. Given these prices. We would shield for NFTs.
All the apes, the bored apes, have escaped. Leaked quote-unquote shill price list shows wild world of crypto promos. This is a list of people that were willing to pump NFTs and other crypto promos.
Lindsay Lohan, Grimes.
And what they were paid, which was astonishing.
Yeah.
Lots of money.
We did try to do our own NFT. Not because anyone asked us to, but we were quickly swatted down on that, so never again.
It was fun. It was a fun experiment.
Yeah.
Here's what just, like, I can't get my head around this is somebody was sitting there and they were like, "I don't really understand crypto." Oh, but Lindsay Lohan thinks it's a good idea. That changes everything.
Hasn't Lindsay Lohan been in rehab the last 5 years?
I think has she been in any, like, media? Isn't she washed up at this point?
The
I don't think
parallels,
she's real popular as an actress anymore.
the parallels to the Beanie Baby thing are astonishing.
Oh,
Yeah, but at least you got to have Beanie Babies at the end of the day.
yeah, like
They
I
might-
had a couple when I was a kid that I played with.
There was one guy, a couple in that documentary, and he was like, "No, I never did this for the money. I did it for the babies." And he had the whole collection still, and he loved them.
I mean, they're cute. I don't really understand spending thousands of dollars on them, but
He might have the only museum grade collection of Beanie Babies left on planet Earth.
And, just a great animal headline. Canoe.com. Is this about water type stuff? But hey, it's a great headline, right?
Some fish cause the Earth's ocean to move during sex. It's talked about anchovies causing such a stir during their spawning session. They get Earth's oceans moving, helping circulate nutrients and oxygen. Well,
it's
that's
very
good.
important according to the pond side of YouTube.
I'm pretty sure that they're telling us there's going to be a lot more ocean in the future. So
Do you think that male anchovies use that as game, or they'll roll up on a girl and be like, "Girl, we need to mix up the biodiversity in this ocean.
Let's oxygenate this water."
Yeah, without us, the oxygen might run out. Let's go. And then they end up on a pizza.
Delicious.
This is an astonishing news story, which just has layers and layers and layers.
I don't think I saw this one.
Oh, did you guys miss it?
I missed it.
Yeah, this is. I didn't
Explain it
let
to
me
us.
let me
as
give
if
you
we're new.
let me give you the timeline. Right, there's a deputy.
Okay.
He pulls this young lady over.
And this is in Tennessee.
We'll show her picture
Not far
without
from
the.
us.
Here she is. So she was doing some sort of traffic violation. He pulls her over. He tells her, "Hey, I'm going to have to give you a ticket or take you in or whatever it was." Or option B, there's a pond down here. I know where it is. We're going to go down. You're going to follow me to that pond. I'm going to baptize you and take you away from these evil ways. And if you do that, I'm not going to write you this ticket. Crazy, right? So she takes the baptism, doesn't get the ticket, but takes careful notes of the entire situation, sues the police department, and then
Saudi Daisy woman at the center of deputy baptism lawsuit is found dead in her home on Wednesday.
Ugh.
Boy, things escalated quickly.
very quickly. This guy has a big history also of violence complaints,
Ugh.
excessive force complaints, things like that.
Is there going to be a Netflix story about this?
I think so.
Maybe someone should baptize him, but just not let him up.
So he's recused himself. The entire department has recused himself from the death investigation for obvious reasons.
Mm. Oh, it's dark.
Small town corruption terrifies me because there is no shield against it.
Unless you get in with those type of people,
Yeah.
which is scary and terrible.
Who knows to do that preemptively?
Yeah.
And this story, this follows up on an old nonsense story that we did about a bear. And as usual, the bear stories that we do are about food thieves.
A cookie-stealing bear keeps finding his way back to an Italian town. After breaking into a local bakery, a pesky bear named Juan Carito has been relocated.
So
This article had a picture in it, I thought. Oh,
Yeah.
there he is.
Oh, God.
Pastries.
Look at those cannolis. He's like, oh, I love cannolis. So,
He has to have the accent, though.
hey, 24 miles. So they took him, they tranquilized him, threw him in a truck, drove him 40 miles or 24 miles and dumped him out. And he was like, I got to get back to those cannolis.
I don't blame him.
And he found his way back.
Oh, that's true. Bears have really, I don't know about this particular type of bear, but bears have really large ranges. They'll range from like Tennessee to Kentucky, no problem.
I like to think that he went, like his first stop wasn't going back to that bakery. Like he went to a Panera and he was just like, oh, it's not the same.
Oh, it's all this organic
no.
vegan.
This tastes old.
I don't like this at all. I don't care how much free coffee they gave me. I'm going back to the other place. And this is an interesting one because I believe that we all
This would happen to all of us.
well, it wouldn't happen to me. I would never do this, but I would maybe request, and actually I'm very careful not to talk about my birthday.
I've known you for
Exactly.
years. I have no idea. I know roughly when Wendell's is. I don't know when yours is.
And that is all by design because I'm not looking for any, like celebrations or anything like that. This gentleman had the same idea, but he was much more proactive about it, but didn't stop anybody.
Employee's unwanted birthday party nets him $450,000 after lawsuit against KY company, Kentucky company. So
Not KY jelly.
yeah, this is
Easy
also
confusion.
there's a lot of you in chat that are in the same kind of boat as us. It's like you struggle with these kinds of things, and so he told his employer, "I struggle with these kinds of things. It's documented if you need documentation." They threw a birthday party for him anyway. He had kind of a breakdown as a result of that, and they fired him. And none of those things were okay. Turns out, under labor law, none of those
I
things are
struggle
okay.
to make eye contact with people, and you're wanting me to go to a birthday party.
But I feel like, I don't know, I mean, I guess it depends on the position. He probably wasn't in a position that interfaced with people very much. But at the same time, if you can't handle a birthday party, can't I as an employer say, yeah, I'm looking for somebody who's a little more together?
I don't know. I've been in some of those meetings where it's just like I'm gonna go now before this
Before I get violent.
because there's no reason for me to be here. This is dumb.
I think the correct way, here's a pro tip if you're one of these people, the correct way to deal with this, because you clearly don't care what these people think, just be like completely unacceptable during like eat with your hand. Just get your hand in there and get the cake and just like, oh god, I love it.
You cut a triangle in the middle of the round cake and then pull your cake out. So
Yeah.
instead of an actual.
Oh no, don't use a knife. Just go in with the claw.
Just in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can just leave.
I don't think he could. I think there was probably an office Karen who's like, we always have birthdays and we will have a birthday.
That's not helpful.
There's cake in the conference room.
Listen, I'm barely a functional human being. You need to not do this because
Also,
it just reminds me.
It sounds like they also sprang it on him, which would be worse.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, they sprang it on him because he was like, okay, I've dealt with that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
Yeah. So they have to pay back pay, but also this was not okay.
I remember my first job. There was this kind of vibe in the office. And they were like, oh, Ryan, could you bring those files down? And I was like, why am I bringing files all of a sudden? It never occurred to me till I got there. I was like, oh, I did have to fill that out on my employment application, didn't I? This is our last article. I'm absolutely blown away. I did not know this was a thing. These are the NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about this article all the time. I saw this a while back.
We're living in an AI, and these are the subroutines. These are not real people. And I think now that we can find them, we got to do Terminator style. We got to split the population. I can't imagine this. Can you?
No.
I can't get my head around how you would exist like this.
Windows to the soul. Pupils reveal aphantasia, the absence of a visual imagination.
I bet the Disney lawyers are like, we should copyright that.
So it's an article about how if you're asked to visualize something in your mind, some people their pupils will respond, and other people their pupils will not respond.
But they get you to imagine a shape, and when you imagine the shape, your eyes will respond the same way as if you looked at the shape, unless you're someone who can't visualize shapes.
There have been stories too where they talk to people, and some people when they read, they don't visualize what they're reading. They just like read the text and like don't imagine anything.
There's no inner monologue.
Yeah, there's no inner monologue thing.
Oh, wow. We have to study these people more. How common is this?
At least on some of the Reddit discussions I saw, some people were like, "Oh yeah, I don't visualize." And I'm like, "How are you reading this right now?
How do you do anything?
How do you develop empathy if you can't visualize or think about other perspectives?"
And maybe the answer is that they go into CEO positions.
Yeah, maybe. They buy Twitter.
Do we have anybody in the chat who is amphantasiatic?
Well, see, that's the thing. The article said that you don't know that you are. Like it's like
You think you're the normal
But
way
when
of
they
operating.
say, imagine a square, did they say okay, or like what's happening?
Yeah, in that they say it's like, no, I can totally see a square in my mind.
So what are they seeing?
Please don't out me.
Or do they
Just
know?
the word square.
Are they aware?
That was a question that I had, but the article doesn't do anything to address. It's like, how would you know if they visualize things differently? If they can have a good visual acuity of a square or a cube or a shoe.
Are they aware in just the general sense?
But here's what terrifies me about this. Like, when I visualize a square, it's not vibrant and, like, I have to work at it a little bit. Am I like, this is probably a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
And some people have super square powers.
I
and
put
some
all
people
my
have
points
nothing.
into visuals, so
I don't know. Thanks again to Linode for sponsoring the Level 1 News, and also our viewers who gave us a bunch of money. Let me see if I can find this. Ramus Munt, follow up. Even if you have no TV or equipment and only your phone, talking about the TV license thing. So, wow, if you watch live TV on your phone, you have to pay it. That's crazy.
But you have to watch BBC, right?
I think it's anything.
Wow.
Anything live. For Brigger, $2. I heard chat say chat says.
So Fortbrigger always in his Twitch comments always says chat says before them. I don't understand that.
yeah, it's a strange
I think
idiom.
he is saying that he's chat.
He doesn't speak for the chat.
Chat
arrogant.
is there's so many.
Vanessa Stuller says, just to tell Ryan that Columbus is awesome. Seriously, I love the content. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Well, are we talking about Christopher or the Ohio City?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the sometimes when we do it at the end, you miss the context.
I don't
They've
remember
been taking
talking
down
about
Columbus statues. I think they found out some stuff.
Well, all those explorers were monsters.
PH Gamer, OMG, the EMH. I hope that becomes real someday. Elliot Hanford, $5. I answer unknown numbers with please state the nature of the medical emergency. which really freaks them out. Samantha Skinner, CA13. Hello, cheers from Canada. Love the content as always.
Look at all these female names.
There's dozens of us.
USS Liberty incident, $2. I wonder why his speeches are never subbed.
Who are we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, that was probably in context when we missed it.
PH Gamer, Google image Apple visualization to see the spectrum.
All right.
We'll do a
Engagement.
chat.
Visualize an apple.
Our engagement challenge.
I feel like I have a better ability to visualize an apple because
It's a 3D
no,
object? Or?
no, in high school that was one of the things that you modeled in 3D Studio. And the way that you modeled it in 3D Studio was to create a cross section like of the shape of an apple, and then spin it around an axis, and then put a texture on it, and then make a stem, and then put the stem in kind of additively. It was really interesting.
So the example we're seeing is like some of it's really vague shapes, and some of it is like a more photorealistic rendering.
Who can't conjure up the number one apple? That's crazy.
Connor Burns, thank you.
You know what that reminds me of is you ever watch a documentary about people who have the hemispheres of their brain separated?
Mm-hmm.
They like completely lose the ability to even recognize what's in one hand.
Yeah.
It's got to be something like that, right?
Chicken Jason 123, 5 pounds. Are there any decent laptops with hot swap replaceable batteries nowadays? You want to check out the modular laptop whose name just evaporated from my brain.
I saw it happen. Like your face were like, wait.
Chat will fill it in. I did a video on it. It was
Just go watch all the backlog.
Yeah.
After years. No, the Apple thing though. So you're like, I can't believe people can't visualize an apple. If I were to ask you to draw an apple just from memory, would you be able to do it though?
A 2D apple, sure.
Yeah, but like, would you be able like?
I could do that in 3D Studio for DOS.
It's not a matter of like not being able to conjure it in my mind. It's between the mind and the hand.
But you can't do that.
Yeah.
I could even do the bumps because when you do the shape and then rotate it around the middle, you don't end up with 4 bumps on the bottom. You end up with this weird donut thing. But then you can go in and do some other stuff to fix it.
See, but you're talking about letting technology take over for your NPC qualities. I don't think that counts.
framework laptop. Yeah, chat. See, look at that. That's awesome. That's the one that Linus invested in. He invested in the company, which is probably wise. Framework modular laptops, modular ports, modular everything. That's what you want if you want a repairable, upgradable laptop. Woo! All right, we'll work on the audio for next time because I literally just unboxed this mixer and put it on the table. It was actually for Ryan's office. It's going to be our new news set as soon as we get a couple more pieces.
And then something else blew up and.
Yeah, the capacitor exploded through the vent, I think.
So hopefully better next time.
Woo!
We'll see you guys Friday, or well, will be Friday, Monday.
It'll be a short week too.
Oh.
Gird your loins for a short one because we doubled down here.
Woo! Thanks for hanging out. Oh, Nick War. Bye.